Bearcat Bounce podcast. Back at it again. Happy Monday, guys. You know, it's one of those weekends where you Monday hits, but it's kind of feeling like Monday for a little bit longer than just Monday. But Monday's here. It's a Monday following a tough loss, a tough road loss. Ralphie came, Ralphie saw, Ralphie conquered loss. Monday. It's a Monday also not so super secret. Other team wants to expose the secret. Got a secret. Can you keep it? No. If you are the other team. Monday. It's also a Monday where I get to meet with two of the guys that I always meet with every Monday. But we get to sprinkle in a special guest because the other guy that we always meet with has a little bit of real life things going on. So we gave him the week off. So without further ado, on this Monday, I'm going to welcome in Aaron Smith, Chad Brendel, and Keegan, if he's here, Nickerson. If not, gentlemen, how are we?
Doing well. It was I didn't get to relax yesterday. Had a bunch of stuff going on yesterday. So today was kind of the take it easy day.
Good.
There wasn't much sleep involved in Saturday and Sunday this week.
No, not at all. Even if you like, especially that game was one of those games where I'm sure I can speak for, you and Aaron had to do the aftermath right afterwards. But that game is one of those where for the next couple of hours, you're trying to fall asleep, but my brain was literally just no. So I had to turn into another sleep helper, if you will, in order to get over the edge and finally hit the hay. But yeah, I agree, Chad. You guys were warriors though with the content. I see for some way the world loves the Derek Canteen video up on the YouTube channel. But hey, I mean, it's very well spoken, man. Derek is, obviously we know that, but that's a tough one. So hopefully you got some rest today, Chad. Hopefully you're able to back full strength, ready to rock, ready to roll.
I did. I feel good.
You can only handle so many losses in one weekend, and the Bengals didn't help. And we wouldn't talk much about the Bengals until later tonight. I did see a question in the mailbag, so we'll have to wait till then to bring up the stripes. So yeah. Good to hear all is well and you're back full strength. Chad, Aaron, sir, how are we? How was the weekend?
Weekend was fine. If I could have a do-over on Monday, I would gladly take it because I'm ready to fire all these kids off into the sun.
Fair. Wow. Just another manic Monday, as they say, right?
Man.
Is
there? I don't know if there's a full moon or what. These kids are nuts.
Well,
full moon was Halloween. 2 weeks ago.
This is Halloween
week, yeah.
Fair enough.
A little spooky. Out there.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, all of the cemeteries in Athens, Ohio, actually connect into a pentagram. So there's that.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Google will be rocking and rolling for me following that comment you just made, Aaron. So thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, there we go. Man, cannot wait for Keegan to come on. As I mentioned on that intro, Ryan had some day job activities tying him up. He might sprinkle himself in later on in the night, but more than likely it'll be Keegan Nickerson, the famous reporter, writer extraordinaire of BCJ, joining the squad to talk about his trip out there to Colorado. What is this?
Kids,
Yeah.
Let's go. It's 8:00. We start at 8:00, Keegan. 8:00.
Wow, there he is. Wow.
We give the kid a chance to get a little airtime, get a little notoriety.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's Ryan Royer and can show up at 8:08.
Exactly. And by the way, welcome Keegan
everywhere.
Welcome Keegan Nickerson. We are live here on the BBP. Keegan Nickerson. How are we, mister?
We're doing solid. A little jet lagged, a little tired, but we are we're killing.
Okay. Solid, killing. Keegan went on a hike in Colorado. Keegan ran out on the field. ran out on the field with Ralphie. Did you see him?
Did he go on a hike to
I saw
Chipotle?
Oh gosh.
I didn't get Chipotle once. I tried to this trip, but Uber Eats wouldn't work.
Congratulations.
So I literally copied and pasted my order from Chipotle to another Mexican restaurant and then got it DoorDashed.
Was
wrong
it
with you?
Qdoba or what was it a
No, it was like
Local
some Oscar's authentic Mexican
Okay.
restaurant. I don't know.
Okay.
Was it
Heard that.
authentic?
Branch
Was it good?
Pretty
out.
Hey,
What'd you say?
that is a good branch out.
Branch out.
That is a
Branch
good
out.
branch out. I'm
Not if you're
Uh,
ordering the same thing you get at Chipotle. What's wrong with you?
Well, they make the
Oh,
rice a
gosh.
different way.
You're
They
such a
saute the
weirdo.
chicken a different way. Did you pet Ralphie?
No. I was over there by the trailer, and the trailer was literally right next to the exit of the locker room, of UC's locker room. So, like, when they came out in full uniform, they were walking right past Ralphie's trailer, which I thought was hilarious. I wonder if it smelled. I didn't get that close to see if it smelled or not, but
Yeah,
I mean,
probably smelled.
I would imagine.
I'm just gonna
so.
guess. I'm gonna guess yes. The
yeah.
Buffalo trailer did not smell good.
Didn't LSU do that with Mike the Tiger? Put it right by the visitor locker room, so when they came out, it'd growl
That
at
would be
them,
pretty
give them a
sick.
couple swipes, if you will. That's
Who'd the
just-
Bulldog almost? Didn't Bevo almost just
Bevo.
annihilate the Bulldog?
Evo, yeah, and Uga, they were right there, ready to rock and roll. So
Uga that would have been a bad day. That would have been a funeral for Uga.
Yeah.
Look, I'm still on board for Canugget down at UCF. That little mini horse running away from the trainer, just hopping
That
around.
was funny.
oh
like
yeah,
a
was
crazy
awesome.
person.
you were all about that, Aaron. And then
Yes.
he had a little defecation on the field, yeah. And had to
No.
do a quick
I don't
cleanup.
believe
Oh, no,
that
that was
happened.
SMU a few years ago. That was SMU a few years ago. yeah,
Off
so.
the rails, 7
That
minutes
was a
in.
pony. That was a pony.
See what happens
Yeah,
when you're late, Keegan. We could have had these stories
That's,
way before.
It's funny. There will be some people that don't know about this, but my school actually had a fundraiser to where you bought a what's the Super Bowl game where you like the cube or
Super Bowl
squares?
squares. Super
Yeah.
Bowl
So
squares.
you
Yeah.
basically they would split the field into squares, and you would
Okay.
buy a square, and
Oh,
then they literally sent out a cow to defecate on the field, and whoever on that square got a bunch of money.
no way.
It's called the cow dump.
Indiana?
No, Ross.
Oh, no, I figured
Lock
Indiana.
me
That
in
sounded
for
like
that.
Indiana.
That sounds like a fun game right there.
I don't know how that isn't more of a infamous thing throughout the entire city of
How
Cincinnati,
big
but
is your square?
probably like that.
One by
maybe?
one.
Yeah.
Wait,
And I just thought
really?
it was normal. I never batted an eye at that until I graduated high school. And I told people about it. They were like, what the hell are you talking about?
Wait, y'all didn't cow dump either? What?
Yeah. You didn't do that at your school?
What? Wow. I mean, was the cow a cool guy? Was your mascot the Moose or something? What was
No,
it?
it was the Rams. We were just a farm town. So someone brought one of their cows in and
Wow. That's
You sure it wasn't Indiana?
no, we're close to Indiana, but it was Ohio.
yeah. Kind of close to Kentucky, probably.
You can literally see the line between Coleraine and Ross. I'm just telling you. There is a definite
Yes.
line.
It's
Is
the
it cow-
stoplight
poop?
on 27.
It's Struble Road. Yes, it's Struble. It's Struble Road.
It's
You like that, Brent? I thought
yeah.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, there's a few spots out there. A little you can tell which side it is. No doubt. Well, anyway, Keegan, welcome back. Welcome to the Nasty Natty or Kentucky, wherever you live. But welcome back to the greater Midwest area. I'm sure you were greatly missed. We're gonna dive in here first about the trip, and then we'll go into the game and whatnot. But some people might have decided it would have been awesome to drive all the way to Colorado and then drive all the way back. If you did that, I highly advise you to head over to Danco Transmission and Auto Care and say, Joe, I drove my car way too far. this past weekend. You got to take a look at it and just see what you can get fixed. Maybe get an oil change, $10 off. Maybe get your next fixing 10% off. Danco Joe hook you up. Mention Keegan, mention Chad, mention Aaron, mention myself, mention Ryan Royer. And Danco Joe will get you that hookup. Always love you, Danco Joe. So, Keegan, pretty busy week for you last week. You were in KC for Big 12 Media Days. We're going to also talk about that later on the day in the show. And then obviously you head on up to Colorado, beautiful Boulder. Kind of just hit us with your, got into town when, kind of pregame festivities. When did you first lock eyes with Coach Prime, and kind of set the scene for us for this, I mean, marathon of a day that was that leading up to the 10:15 kick.
So it's just that day, or do you want me to do the whole trip?
Well, we'll get to the KC part later. Let's hear the
Okay.
Colorado trip. Let's
So-
get the Colorado trip.
Basically, Thursday and Friday, I was running around doing stuff, hiking, going to the gym, going to get food, trying to bounce between Airbnbs. So I just said Saturday, like, I'm chilling. Like, I'm relaxing this entire day. I'm watching football. I'm going to track the Indiana score, all that stuff. So I hated having to wait the entire day with basically nothing to do until about 5 o'clock when my Uber picked me up to get to the game. You get to the game and then you have to walk through the campus to get to Folsom Field. It's kind of similar to Nippert. Like, it's not dissimilar. I'd say on one side, it's not exactly the campus, but on the other side is very entrenched in Colorado's campus. So get there and then you're just like in awe of the setting, the field kind of overlooking the mountains, the sun setting. It was awesome. And then I get down on the field for warm-ups when everyone's kind of out on the field in their uniforms. And then Dion just runs past me doing his pregame, like, laps around the field.
Which,
I was like,
which the broadcast crew was sure to mention it. It really felt like what they say was pro football. This is what the NFL does, or no, the UC coaches were saying that, and they got Pete Thomas and Coach Sat saying that about Dion doing the NFL thing pregame. So continue.
yeah. That's so that was pretty cool. Dion kind of doing the laps around, and then the game started, and it was interesting to start. Did not expect UC to take the ball when they won the coin flip. Chad, I don't know if I ever got your opinion on that, of taking the ball.
I mean, look, if they're probably going to slice through your defense like hot butter, I don't mind it. Like, they knew they know their pass defense isn't where they want it to yet, where they want it to be yet. So, I mean, the only thing that has to happen if you do that, you have to at least the two things. You have to at least drive some.
Yeah.
Can't go 3 and out, and then give them the ball in great field position, which is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to win the end of the half, so they can't go back to back to start the second half. And they did the two things, like the absolute worst case scenario on the two things that you have to control if you're going to win the toss and take the ball. Go get a touchdown, or at least make them start inside the 20. And then don't let them get a touchdown with 3 seconds left on the clock at the end of the first half. Just those are the type of things. If you're going to win on the road, I don't mind being aggressive. I'm never going to I'm never going to complain about a coach saying, let's put our foot on the gas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that I'm okay with that. It gets like, fans hate some of my takes on this stuff, but it revolves around being consistent. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say I want a coach to be aggressive and then get upset every time he's aggressive. Yeah. That's kind of stupid. You know what I mean? But if you're going to be aggressive, you better win. Like the situation and where you're being aggressive. You're not going to win them all the time. But in that situation, you can't go 0 for 2. You can't go 3-and-out punt and then give up a touchdown with 3 seconds left.
Not only 3-and-out punt, but 3-and-out and gain 0 yards. Like literally make no blemish at all on the defense. My thought on it was, and Keegan, I know you probably listened to it, and Chad, you did too, but the way Dion kind of stressed in his, midweek presser about how, or his presser beginning of last week was we want to start fast. We have to start fast, and we have to, get things going. I think if Cincinnati scores on that opening drive, or like Chad says, gets in good field position, I think you're able to kind of control the game a little bit more. I think they wanted to run the ball. I think that was pretty obvious. Then when you just get in that hole, then you kind of flip the game script a little bit. You are passing a little bit more. You're putting the ball in Sorsby's hands more than probably you wanted to in the beginning. But I mean, either way, like Chad said too, you can't allow the double dip, and we're going to dive heavily into that into the first half. But I don't know. Continue, Cakes.
Yeah, and I think you kind of talked about them not getting a yard, and now that I think back on it, that first drive was basically very indicative of the entire passing game, of just Colorado giving them 0 space to get a completion.
Yeah.
And man, I hadn't seen Sorsby try to fit it in as tight of windows as he did on those first 2 throws.
He didn't have a choice.
No, yeah. I mean, he was trying to make a play. He just had this much space to complete a pass. And he almost did to, I think it was Jamoy on the 3rd down play. But then when it went very downhill for UC, for me, was when Jimmy Horn kind of discarded Antoine Peak and then took off down the sideline.
Yeah.
I mean, just open field, kind of wasn't even close. And then UC was very lucky that he made the very boneheaded decision to do the Tyreek Hill peace sign at the 10-yard line.
Which I mean, everyone in college football has to know that that's going to get called. That's 1,000,000% going to be a flag.
I didn't know that they took the touchdown.
Didn't throw the flag.
The second I saw it, I was like, flag. And then it waited, and then there it was. I was like, okay, there we go.
I didn't know that they took the touchdown off the board for that.
It's like it's been a couple years since they changed that rule.
Oh, okay. But yeah, that was when I kind of realized they might be in trouble. Like, these guys are some athletes, and UC has not been a bad tackling team.
You didn't know that before that moment? You had no idea they were athletes before that moment?
I watch one college football team. I watch Cincinnati.
I thought you were going to say Indiana.
No, I can't watch them. All their games are on Big Ten Network. I don't have Big Ten Network. It's stupid.
Because nobody watches it. They threw it on the back burner.
They're on the regional programming channel.
They people want to watch IU these days. It's kind of crazy. It's a complete script. My whole career there was tailgate and then go somewhere else and not into the game. Like, I think I was talking about this with some of my friends over the weekend, and I think I literally
nobody cares.
I think I touched foot into that stadium 4 times in my entire college career.
I'm just still flabbergasted that the Jimmy Horn touchdown callback was when Keegan realized that this is a team of dudes.
No,
they were 5-2.
They were.
It's not like they were 7-0. They lost to Nebraska. That game, the entire time I was thinking, how is this team not undefeated?
Same.
Like, there's next level speed, athleticism all over the field, and they have 2 losses.
When you put a team full of divas together, though, it takes them a minute to gel.
Well,
I don't know.
They almost lost to North Dakota State. They've got a couple
they should have lost to Baylor.
Yeah, should have lost to Baylor. Definitely. For me though, that Jimmy Horn play was the fact that it was 3rd and 13, and it literally was the epitome of like, okay, you didn't get it going offensively. You get the big Bartlett sack where, then in your mind, you're starting to say, okay, that's the Colorado I remember coming into this game is, Shadur does take a bunch of sacks. Shadur does have a couple of plays where he's kind of a little off, and he might throw an errant pass for an interception, or does some of these rough plays and then comes back with a spectacular play. Well, guess what happened the very next play after the big Bartlett sack? It was a spectacular play, and so yeah, it was kind of too script for me. But that gets called back, and then obviously they score a couple of plays later, so it's kind of no harm, no foul. But kind of
I think I was actually still typing the Jared Bartlett sack tweet.
Yeah.
As Jimmy Horn broke free down the sidelines.
Right.
And then you just hit delete.
I do want to say
I looked at that tweet and went.
I do want to say that's a trash rule.
And then you got a flag. Yeah. Then you got a flag. You're like, no.
I like it.
A trash rule. Get rid of that rule. You should be
I
able.
like it.
Look, soft. It's soft.
When you get into the end zone, talk your shit.
Do it the whole way down the field. If you are that much faster than everybody else, go backwards, doing two-piece signs while carrying the ball between your knees. I don't care.
Yeah. I
Go
ahead.
My other kind of not take, but observation, and I'm curious to get your guys' take on this. But you feel like throughout Sauce's entire career, no one really threw to him. Like it was kind of just understood. He's on that side of the field, and it's taken away. And I think there were 6 to 7 throws right at Travis Hunter in one-on-one coverage, and they were all incomplete. Yeah. So I was very curious why they decided to go that direction. I asked Sorsby about it, and he kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, Travis is good. I think he said, like, we have to play our game plan kind of thing, maybe, but
they tried to throw at the other guy and couldn't throw at him either. I forget his name. The other DB that was all over the place.
That was listed at 6'4", and then he got to campus and he was 5'10".
Yeah.
That was one of the 400 stories we heard about the entire roster for Colorado.
They had it was like they did
Preston
one of those
Hodge.
Hodge.
Yeah, had the pick that got called back.
Yeah.
I mean,
did you know he's a black belt? He's a black belt. Did you know that?
It was like one of those preseason like football series where they take every player on the roster and they just give like one thought on him. They had that for every player for Colorado that they had to work in throughout the game.
Keegan, do you rewatch broadcasts or is it like, you're at the game, you watch it and then you don't go back?
They have a TV in the press box, and it was actually delayed the perfect amount to where I could rewatch stuff. Yeah. But I did not rewatch the broadcast. No, I heard it was awful.
Oh man, it was rough. It was I
was waiting for a full-on like between the lines segment.
Dude, they had numerous of those. Chad mentioned it in.
I mean, like an actual one with like the breakaway interviews and all of it. Like,
yeah. Well, and then they were starting to like every time they sent it down on the field, it was like some inside joke about Colorado and like you got to only know it if you're friends with Ralphie and stuff. So I didn't even know what they were talking about half the time, but. Chad mentioned it perfectly. The main thing was later in the game when they're doing this Warren Sapp mic'd up pregame, and it's during an important drive for Cincinnati. We missed a completion to freaking Royer.
Are you serious?
Yes, missed it.
Yeah.
We saw him just
was it
getting
the
up.
stiff arm?
No, the first down on the first
down.
The first down on the second to last drive. It was the second first down that they threw.
Okay,
they threw a completion, and then they threw it to Royer again. After the completion, they went to this whole thing about Warren Sapp pregame. And when they came back, like Royer was jogging and flipping the ball to the official, and they didn't even mention
nothing
that there was a play, a completion, a first down. They're just yucking it up about Warren Sapp.
We also had no idea that Luke Kandra left the field on a cart until you tweeted it out.
That's Dan said it on the radio broadcast. That was the only reason I knew.
I'm just saying that anyone watching the telecast and did not have it synced up to Dan and Jim had no idea that Luke Kandra left the field on a cart.
they didn't even
Or-
know
or
some
that he
of our
left the
players'
field.
names. To be honest with you, in the opening drive, they called Xavier Henderson like Hendies or something. I was like, who is Hendies?
Hendies.
Yeah, I was like,
Hendies.
what is this, like chicken tendies?
Nuts.
Yeah, right, exactly.
We
Thank
were
you.
all thinking it.
That's where I was going. But anyway, first Keegan, to go back to your Hunter Sauce Gardner thing, it felt like a lot of those like attempts at Travis was like it was late in the progression.
Yeah.
And it was
Just
like
had to throw it to somebody.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like behind. Like I feel like 3 of them were like more. It was closer to Travis Hunter than it was to our intended receiver on the play. And I was, what are we doing here? Like it seemed like on one, like Mays like stopped his route, and then the ball was thrown like in front, and that's where Hunter was. And another one, like Tony Johnson was thrown behind him. I don't know if he was supposed to stop, and he kept going. I was a little puzzled by that. But I want to go back to their first touchdown where it looked like we had literally just Jordan Robinson one-on-one coverage against Travis Hunter. And Hunter just makes a quick move. And like there was no help across the middle.
You got like 5 yards of separation on a
there
slant.
was no help over the middle at all. Like, I don't know. I like it just and we'll get to the play at the end of the first half later on, but it just seemed like when you're in that scenario, don't you want to have someone spying him over the middle too? Like, we're talking about the best player in the country, and I don't know that first touchdown kind of. I was like, okay, like he's going to be that wide open. I don't know. We should probably choose a different way to go after him after that, but he was good, good damn player right there.
I mean, I've never seen before. He's the Big 12 offensive and defensive player of the week.
Yeah.
I have never seen that in my life.
He was their highest rated PFF player.
That's incredible. And you know what? He didn't talk a lot of shit. Like, he just played. Like, he just goes out there, plays every snap, and is great every snap. Very rarely in football is the number one guy the guy. And that is
even
the guy.
You even saw that when there was a clip between him and Xavier Henderson where they kind of went at it back and forth and then dapped up right after the play where he just liked the press or whatever it was that he was doing at that point. Maybe he was blocking. I can't remember. But
he was blocking. It was the run play. The two of them were like going back at each other. And then the whistle blew and they like
pushing each
up
other.
And yeah.
It was like left side, strong side. I remember the Titans.
Yeah.
It
really was.
That's fine.
Someone tweeted at me. Yeah. But yeah, from there, I mean, we already talked about it at the end of the first half. That was kind of, I text Chad. I said, I guess you can go to bed if you want to, because at that point, you just felt like Cincinnati had to play perfect in order to get back into the game. And then coming out of the half, it was very clear. Like, Colorado did not take their foot off the pedal defensively. Offensively, they definitely did. Were able to get another score, but then they just try to kind of run the clock out. But yeah, second half was very, very uneventful. The Joe Royer stiff arm was a very, very cool play. I wish Corey Kiner would have gotten the end zone when he hurdled Shiloh. That would have been also pretty cool. But
Shiloh's
yeah,
a bitch.
Man, Keegan, I love your tenacity right now, going after all the big plays throughout the entire game, all within 2-minute segment. But this is a podcast. We've got to kind of lengthen it out a little bit more.
No, we don't.
Okay, yeah, let's be done with it in an
after
hour.
a loss.
That'd be cool. I did want to talk real quick about the Tony Johnson touchdown. It seems like Tony Johnson's kind of carving out a role as 1B in the wide receiver totem pole, if you will, with Xavier Henderson. Are you just seeing kind of more of a connection between him and Sorsby? It looks like Sorsby's kind of looking towards his way a lot more than he was in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I think the thing with Sorsby is he doesn't really zero in on anyone. I guess you could say when he knows that X is running a hitch, like he knows he's going to have a 10-yard completion to X, like we've seen a lot of the season. But other than that, he is kind of just dishing it out to Joe Royer, Jamoy Mays, and Tony Johnson pretty equally. And there also isn't a thing of, okay, we're in the red zone, let's target X. We're in the red zone, let's target Joe, which, I mean, if you did that, I don't think it would be a horrible idea. I think those two players have had some success. But I think Tony is just a veteran player who's always had an edge in his career, from being a walk-on at Florida Atlantic to now playing for UC. And I think it was the same play they scored on against UCF as what they ran for that touchdown against Colorado. Just kind of, you go in motion and then fake come back and then kind of run just a shallow, maybe a little bit of a wheel route kind of thing. And it's just to kind of get a step or two on the DB that was in coverage. And then Sorsby just drops an easy ball. But yeah, I think him and Jamoy just being veteran guys, and Brennan being able to trust them that if he puts a ball in the zone, that they're going to be where they're supposed to be, that's big. And, you know, there's guys like Sterling Burkhalter and Barry Jackson who are still really young and kind of inexperienced that have to get to that point. But UC has two guys behind X right now that are kind of at that level.
Brent, I would say the biggest difference there is moving Tony Johnson to the slot. Like, that has opened him up big time, as opposed to when him and Jamoy were splitting reps at that number 2 spot. Now you've got them both on the field, and I think the benefactor's been Tony Johnson for sure.
Yeah. I think the main thing also is just Jamoy also being a threat, you know, because he's had certain times throughout the season where he's kind of been a splash guy as well. So you can't just kind of leave him all by himself and just hope that he doesn't hurt you in some way. So yeah, I think those three, along with Joe Royer, obviously, who's just an absolute stud. And then the second quarter was just kind of just, you know, back and forth again. Obviously, you get the touchdown by Cincinnati, and then you finally get a stop, hold them to a field goal. Which, by the way, their field goal kicker won Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week. I think, Aaron, you were saying, and gosh, we're going to talk about that little, you know, pew, you know,
the broadcast. The broadcast mentioned it, I think, about 6 times.
Yeah, I kind of muted them out and turned heavily to the liquids when the later of the game was going on. But let's just go ahead and do it. End of the first half. It's been kind of a crazy storyline. You know, you hear Sat mention it at halftime of the post of the game. Sorry, at the post game after the Arizona State game, where he mentioned how, you know, they probably lead the country in most missed field goals at the end of a first half scenario, which I'm sure they do. It's kind of a mind-boggling stat. And then in this one, you kind of get a little bit of momentum going. And then obviously we have that 4th down play. Coach Sack called it the offensive play of the game that he thought kind of flipped everything on its end. First off, Keegan, your stance when it comes to that play call, are you okay with going it on the 4th down? Would you have wanted, you know, like a kinder? Would you want a little bit more of an RPO look, or play call was the right call, just got to execute a little bit more? I kind of agree with the stance that Chad has about sometimes you just got to go out there and make plays, and sometimes the other team does stop you on 4th down. I mean, it's their job to stop you from not gaining that yard and pick it up. But just, you know, obviously your thoughts on what Sat coined the biggest play of the game.
I'm absolutely okay with him going for it on 4th and 1. I think Chad mentioned it. You're playing on the road. You have to make the necessary plays and take some chances to put yourself in a position to win. The play call, I get that it's worked. I get that quarterback run has worked. I get that it's one-on-one blocking and they just got kind of blown off the ball. I just think your margin for error is bigger when you have a running back taking the handoff who has proven that he can break tackles in the backfield and also make people miss and get a yard. So I'm just confused on, it kind of just seems like Coach Sat overthinks things sometimes. We can go back to the 4th down play in the red zone against Arizona State. That was also kind of another confusing sequence. His thing is RPO. He likes RPOs because it gives you so many options. But if you use a transitive property, it also gives you more opportunities for things to go wrong. So I just think if you hand it off to the running back and you're like
First time we've
all
ever
Big
talked
12
about the
running backs.
transitive property on this podcast.
That's a transitive property.
What? It's
And Aaron's a freaking math major. I mean, geez,
The
where you been with
Pythagorean
transitive property?
theorem, and
but I don't get not just looking at that situation and be like our 11 versus your 11. Let's see who does it. And their defensive line got penetration. My thing is Sorsby isn't the guy who's going to break a tackle in the backfield or make someone miss.
Yeah.
And he also made the wrong read is what I'm hearing. So your running back probably has better awareness, knows which holes to hit, can hit them quicker. So I would just like to at least have him in the backfield.
Right.
To take attention. I don't get going empty at all. That's my thing.
For me also, I rewatched the play numerous times. And like
sorry about that. Why would you do that to yourself?
Torture makes me on a Monday. Oh yeah. But for me it was like kind of a weird blocked play. Like it's not like the offensive line necessarily like fired out full burst for like a complete run play. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's how they're told to block that up to try and like, you know, hold your responsibility, your man and try and let Sorsby kind of survey and see where he finds a gap. Like it's not like they fired off and tried to like, you know, get up to the next level and this, that, and the other. And then none of the receivers looked like they ran routes at all. It looked like it was the design run all the way through. So I don't know. It just, for me, I agree with and I know it.
Of course, it was the designed run. Who was he gonna? Was he gonna fake handoff to himself
or throw?
Well, no,
we don't know.
No, you can literally just do the Tebow. But anyway,
there we go.
but anyway, for me, I understand Chad's point of view with when you have Kiner back there, it brings in another, you know, linebacker or lets the defensive backs play up a little bit more if that's who's going to be spying Kiner. But I kind of like the ability to say, okay, we might be giving it to Corey Kiner, or do the thing where you fake the Corey and then Corey leads the way and it's Sorsby still with the ball, kind of running behind Corey and let Corey find the hole and then Sorsby trying to run behind Kiner. But either way, it was kind of a like he hit the line of scrimmage and just stood straight up and kind of just got held up and then went down. And there was no other way of trying to find an open hole or whatnot. But we're going to be talking about that play for a little while. But I don't know. Chad, are you still on your stance about no Kiner in the backfield, kind of spread it out a little bit more the way it was?
All I'm saying is it doesn't like it makes sense strategically.
Yeah.
To spread them out and try to hey, we need our two guys to beat your two guys and we get this first down. Like I that's all. I'm not saying it's the right call. I'm not saying I didn't want Kiner back there. I'm just saying I get the logic of spread them out. Our center, our all conference level center and guard against your two defensive linemen. We think we're going to win. And like, you have to think that, right? Like that's calling a play in that situation. You have to believe like we're going to be in an advantageous situation here, 2-on-2. Even if one of the guys wins his battle, you get a first down.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that neither of them did. So, if you want to hate it, if you want to think it's stupid, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to like jump up and down on the table and like argue for or against either way.
Right.
I'm just saying I get the logic in 4th and 1 situation. We're going to spread you out. We're going to go one-on-one with our offensive linemen that we trust. And we think we're going to win the play.
Yeah.
Like that's all.
Yeah. There's also like we can sit here and basically like I just did is I can question Sat, but then he can also call a QB or not a QB. He can also call a counter in the red zone on like 3rd and 13, and then Corey just beats the defense for a first down, like he did late in the game. And when he hurdled, I think it was Shiloh. I would have never, ever thought calling a counter in that situation was a good idea. But the offense or the defense was completely committed to something else, took advantage of it, and then the play later they score a touchdown. So
I think one other small thing would have been just maybe using one of your 3 timeouts at the end of that first half.
Yeah.
Before the 4th down, recollect yourself, let the O-line get a little breather. It's not like you were kind of running like high up tempo and the defense was fatigued at that point. You were just, you were just at, the middle of the field. So timeout, regroup, make sure you all know what you're doing. And also we don't know anything medical at all, especially during the game. So I wondered what percentage Kandra was at that point. Obviously went down in that first drive where, with an injury came out on the field. And then obviously later on the whole carted off incident. So was he playing at, full 100% or whatnot? Could that have any effect on that very small short yardage scenario? We'll never know. But either way, Colorado gets the big stop. Like we mentioned, both teams are out there trying to do the same thing, and that's either stop you or pick it up. But for me, is what happened after that. Because even if you get stopped, holding to a field goal, you're down 6. Come up with a big play of your own. Don't let them. Yeah.
If you go in down 6, it kind of feels like the Bengals game from Sunday, where it was like the Bengals dominated the first half and the Eagles are right there.
Right.
Like that's what it feels like. Colorado dominated this first half and it's a 6-point game. Like that gives you some momentum going into the half. And instead you're down 10 on a play where the best player in the sport just runs free down the sideline and gives it like a Randy Moss, and
how about the play right before that?
Catches it and just strolls into the end zone.
How about the play right before that? 3rd and 4, yet again, another 3rd down, and you let this guy that you're mentioning, the best player in the country, get open across the middle for 14 yards to pick up the first down.
Can we stop best player? Ashton Genty is the best player in the
No,
country.
he's not.
No,
Stop.
He's the best player.
Stop.
No, he's
Stop.
not.
Put on your tinfoil hat. No.
College football, best college football player in the country. I'll give you running back. Ashton Genty for sure, best running back in the country for sure.
He's the best guy who goes 2 ways.
No, he's literally the best wide receiver and the best cornerback in the country. He is both of those things.
Best guy who goes 2 ways.
All right, you had to say it twice, didn't you? You had to say it twice.
But anyway, on that play, obviously breakdown, as Chad mentioned, the waving, the kind of like, hey, look at this, the most open I've been all season. Like, was that obviously now looking back on it, definitely a breakdown in coverage. Do you think that a lot of people were thinking that maybe Colorado was going to go safe and just try and get into field goal range and get that field goal because with 10 seconds left, thank you. I was hoping not, but
here's the thing. Jimmy Horn was wide open for a touchdown on that play too.
Yeah.
Shedeur could have picked either one and he would have had 6. So they just beat UC's DBs. That's what it was. And I think that might have been why the safety wasn't on Travis, because he saw, oh my God, Jimmy Horn is running a post and he's wide open. And then Travis just runs right down the sideline for a score. So, and there was a play, I think, earlier in that half that Jimmy Horn was wide open for a touchdown, and Shedeur just didn't throw it to him. So,
I'm not in any way at all comparing the two teams, but last year's defense to this year's defense. This year's defense is light years better, but it was shades of the end of the BYU first half where just complete breakdown on that final drive, and they strike you for a long touchdown. So obviously that kind of gave the vibes. Like after that, did you kind of feel the vibes heading into halftime were a little bit like, oh gosh,
A little
10
bit.
points. Yeah,
They were
right.
they were in the tank. It was
Yeah.
A lot
over.
of it. A lot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you needed them to basically go completely unaggressive in the second half offensively, and then hope that they miss a field goal to give yourself a chance. Which I
Yeah.
mean, UC had a chance to win that game. That field goal barely made it, but
Yeah.
you put yourself in that situation. I'm curious, if you're the coach, either one of you, and you're presented with that 4th and 1, you have to be thinking, if we don't get this, they are going to get at least 3 points.
Yes. You're giving them the ball essentially in field goal range. Like
Yes.
it is right there.
So I like, with that concession, you have to do everything to just only let them get 3 points. Like, guard the 20-yard line, guard the 5-yard line.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's like you can't go 4th and 1 there, give them the ball and at that part of the field and think, oh, we're gonna get a stop. Like, you can't think that because of how their offense was moving.
Yeah.
So
You hadn't gotten to stop really all night, so
no.
At that point, you hadn't gotten a stop all night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I
it's
don't
not
think
even
there
like
was a punt in the first half.
No.
I guess you had the field goal instead of the touchdown.
Yeah.
Good stop.
In the so many possessions, all 4 possessions in the first half.
Right.
It's such a boring half.
Yeah, it's like the Bearcats had Tyreek Stevenson pointing at the fans, but he was invisible, and like there was a wide open Travis Hunter there. Somehow he got over touchdown. Shucks. But second half, as you mentioned, Keegan, it was a little, after Colorado scored that touchdown, went up 17. It felt like the game was kind of a bit of a drag until then the fourth quarter hits. Cincinnati amps it up, and that one drive, Cincinnati went heavily to the run, and just progressively worked the ball down the field. Progressively, I think it proved that they could have probably ran throughout the entire game if the script was in that way for them, but it wasn't. They were playing from behind for most of it. I guess when it comes to then, you score the touchdown, and the whole next question then would be the going for 2 scenario, and obviously they attempted it. You play the numbers game, the probability game, and I agree with Sat. On the road, you do the thing where if you make the 2-point conversion, you get the ball back, you score again. All you need is the extra point kick, and you win in regulation, because the odds of you winning in overtime on the road are pretty slim. But they went with the play that they ran against Baylor last year, if you guys remember that, and it got Prater was lining up at center, but instead this time Colorado just completely just smashes Prater right at the snap. So he has no free release, and there was just no secondary option on that play that you could see. Thoughts on going for 2 at the moment, Keegan? Are you in on that mathematical, and it just didn't quite work out?
Yeah, you go for 2 in this situation. It's starting to become a very, very normal thing on basically all levels of football, especially when you're on the road. Give yourself 2 opportunities to kind of, or what it would have been. You give yourself an opportunity to take the lead, and then if not, you have another opportunity to tie. Just in that situation. But the play call is another example of kind of overthinking it, and like, it's another example of things can go really wrong if the play goes wrong and you're kind of blown up, instead of just kind of drawing up a Xavier Henderson fade or a RPO kind of thing when you're there at that yard line. So I completely agree with going for it, but another example of you're just not really sure about the 2-point play call, because especially that Baylor game, I don't think that was a very efficient offensive performance for Cincinnati last year. So I think that was maybe the best play that they had the entire game.
Yeah, that was a man. I don't want to even think about that game. But anyway,
you brought it up.
just that they had run that play before. They had success. That game also had one of the craziest special teams plays I've ever seen. Kind of similar to that field goal that Colorado somehow squeaked over the uprights, and the kicker just like shrugged his shoulders, gave like the Michael Jordan shrug. He was like, whatever, it went in. Were you guys kind of surprised when 3:50 left on the clock in the game, and instead of Colorado coming out and where most defenses are probably thinking, okay, they're going to try and run the ball, eat some clock, Colorado instantly went to the air. I thought that was a smart move by Dion and their coaching staff, and just saying, hey, let's continue to be aggressive. Let's pick up some first downs and not put our take our foot off the gas, because it seemed like the momentum was switching back over to Cincinnati a little bit. One stop, kind of seemed like they were kind of geared up for the run. That's when the big pass play to Travis happened. Pretty smart move by their coaching staff. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah.
It was the only move because they weren't running the ball well.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they do
You
best.
could still
is
eat like
ice
2
people up.
minutes off the clock, or a minute and a half off the clock type thing. So,
Or you could go win the game.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm saying. I come on. I was surprised when I saw them go with I
wasn't surprised at
deep
all.
pass on the right side. Really? Okay.
No.
On the last drive to Travis Hunter?
Yeah.
No, I
Bro.
wasn't.
No. I mean, you have, like we've said, the best player in college football one-on-one
Right.
with
Yeah.
Armani Arnold.
And
It's
a quarterback that's completing 147% of his passes.
Wow. It's a pretty big percentage.
While
How's that for
your
math?
running game was
He was
only
32 for 25.
you're only getting 3 yards on average for the run. Like, and I don't know. I didn't.
I understand
didn't
it.
see
It's 1st and 10, though. I would think there's 3:50 on the clock. Most of the time, you're going to turn and hand the ball up on first down at least. And Cincinnati burns a timeout. But no, I agree.
Not when you have a guy that's so good that he can literally be being tackled and still make the play.
Still catch it. No, yeah.
Yeah.
That showed he was the best player in college football, no doubt about that.
That was crazy.
I guess on that drive as well, your guys' thoughts on using timeouts before the 2-minute timeout or after the 2-minute timeout. I mean, hindsight, I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just, I think like 40 seconds overall ticked off the clock before the 2-minute timeout. And then after the 2-minute timeout, you're taking those timeouts. I think it's a this or that type thing. You probably save a total of 30 seconds overall. I don't know, just a different way to go about the time management. But anyway, they squeak over the field goal, and the rest is history. It was Bearcats got the ball back. Obviously, didn't really do much after that, and before you know it, it was a 34-23 loss. I think Chad put it the right way. The team that played better won the game. The team whose quarterback played better won the game. The team who overall just had the better Saturday night won the game. So I don't know. Main takeaways and what needs to be fixed the most. Keegan, you asked that question to each person is what they need to focus on in the bye week. What's your answer to your own question?
What they need to focus on?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think Colorado is better at the end of the day. Like, I don't think that there's really something that UC did particularly bad. You can say separation for receivers, but I mean, that was just probably the best man coverage you've seen. And then coverage with DBs was probably the thing that they struggled with the most. But that's also a credit to Colorado's receivers and athletes for just being that good to be able to get open and miss tackles and all that kind of stuff. So they do need to get healthy. That's what I think Derek Cantine and Stat both said. So that's going to be a big thing to look for the West Virginia game.
If it had been a 1-game sample size, I would agree with you, Keegan. But since I think we're now at 3 or 4 games in a row where they have struggled to get that separation and to air the long ball and to be able to do anything more than, I think 17 yards might actually be their long over the course of the last 3 games.
Yeah.
when you're struggling like that, to me, that's a struggle. That's a huge struggle. It's too many games that you've had this situation now. I think it's 3 or 4 games where you've consistently struggled to have any chunk play through the air, and that's a giant issue. So I'm with you. I think it is separation, but I think it's got to be far more focused on than you're giving it credit for, because it's become more than just an anomaly. It's now a trend to have it that many games in a row.
The thing I would say, Aaron, is you got to remember once something is put on tape, it's a copy. Everybody's going to copycat, and what they're copycatting is we're going to force Xavier Henderson to the sideline and just take away his catch radius. They have to figure out a way to beat it.
It's just not checkers.
The way they've tried to do that is with the underneath stuff.
Yeah.
But then they were blanketed against Colorado. So I do agree. They've got to, and I think they had, I think they've had the right plan to get teams out of that coverage, is if you just keep hammering them over the middle and underneath and like moving the chains and forcing them to like, tighten up their defense, that eventually is going to get you free. But that game, I mean, nobody was open. I mean, nobody. Like Tony Johnson was the only guy I really felt like more often than not when the ball came his way, he was open. Because what they did, I mean, they had Hunter moving all over the place. Hunter was on Royer, he was on Mays, he was on Henderson. Like, and their secondary, the thing is, the good news, Aaron, I don't think that's going to be replicated by anybody in this league the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I walked away more impressed with Colorado.
The big plays,
than
the big plays have to. Yeah, I agree. The big plays have to come back. They're not the same offense without that 30, 40-yard strike ability. I agree.
Right. Yeah, it was Colorado showed me some things, and if you listen to all the national media after the game, and by the way, it's not like Travis Hunter was doing that offensively game in and game out. This was his best game of his career, and it just happened to be against Cincinnati with all of us watching. He hasn't been really held in check, to say the least. He's still averaging right around 100 yards and about a touchdown every game receiving. So he just kind of blew up a little bit more than anticipated in this one. But I agree with you guys. The whole down the field look thing it's I don't know if it's more so. I mean, how many, you guys know off the top of your head, how many Sorsby like attempted in this game? Like throws over 15 or 25 or 30.
I can get info for you.
Because I feel like it wasn't more than maybe 1 or 2. I feel like in order to completion. Yeah. I mean, in order to hit those throws, you got to attempt them. You know what I mean? It's like, obviously they're completely taking these away, and you don't want to force too much. But in the end, if you want to have those long air throws, you got to just go for it. And what if it ends up being an incompletion or ends up being a interception? I guess you got to kind of just handle that. But I don't know. It's a double-edged sword for me at times.
A sword of 2 edges.
Yes, very correct. That's what I was going for there. Yeah. I mean, I think health, obviously health is something. Got to get back on track. I don't know. Like I said before, Colorado's not the same team that went out there and kind of laid an egg against Nebraska. I think they look like the real deal with bona fide NFL players at key positions for them. So I think you listen to that national media, they are a bit of an outside dark horse to make it to that Big 12 championship game, to kind of contend and compete for the college football playoff. So, I mean, I don't know. Either way, Jake Golday continues to look like a stud. I love seeing his progression. I mean, I got to get back onto something positive before I lose my mind. But yeah. And Evan Prater. How about that?
Yeah.
We'll get some love to that.
Yeah.
What?
I thought that was
what
Kai
was-
Stokes. That's what the radio broadcast said, but then it ended up being Prater.
yeah, the TV broadcast said Kai Stokes too. I was like, golly.
I knew as soon as I looked at him, that was Prater.
Yeah, same here. I was like, Prater with a huge hit. They're like, Kai Stokes delivering the hit. And I was like, oh, yeah, just instantly going with that. But that was a good one. And then, of course, you do got to give some flowers to Joe Royer with his stiff arm. I think in that game, Royer showed that he's an NFL player too. And they were, they mentioned it on the broadcast, Aaron. I'm sure you heard this, but they've had over 120 some odd NFL scouts that have been at games throughout this season for Colorado.
Oh, we heard all about it.
So this will be another scenario where they were like, whoa, look at this guy, Joe Royer. That is a NFL looking tight end right there. So hats off to him. I thought he had some really, really special plays that helped the team. But either way, you come out of it 5-3, still one game away from bowling, still light years better than last season. I don't think Sorsby is just going to continue to learn from certain difficulties like this. And obviously you sometimes face a 10-15 kickoff. And I thought it was interesting. Sat kind of mentioned that numerous times in the post-game press conferences, just like the different nuances and, kind of adverse scenarios that every team in the Big 12 faces, is like playing in weird time zones and having to adjust to different, atmospheres and playing times and this, that, and the other. So I sure it's something that weighs a little bit more on people on the team rather than just us guys trying to stay up for a 10-15 kickoff on a Saturday full of football. So either way, you get a full week off and you got West Virginia. Nip at noon continues as the Mountaineers come in at 12 noon kickoff yet again for the Bearcats, but that's 2 weeks away, so we're not going to really dive too much into that. Anything furthermore?
Is it crazy that I'm starting to like get
You
used
like
to
them?
Nip at noon?
You kind of like them a little bit?
I'm not to like them yet, but I'm definitely like getting used to them.
Yeah. Okay.
Driving 2.5 hours to get to the game, I will never like a noon kickoff. Ever.
Yeah, but then you get to drive home a lot earlier than, midnight.
Yeah.
You just stay at your mom's.
Getting home at midnight, the kids are already in bed.
But you got fam in Cincy. You can just stay the night on Friday night.
I could.
Yeah, there you go.
There's
baby.
nothing like your own. Look, I know that you're bouncing between states often, but there's nothing like your own bed.
Oh yeah, three straight weeks. I've slept in 4 different locations in 3 different states. Boy, I'm a traveling man, kind of like Keegan Nickerson down there. But Keegan, football game
you're
aside,
allowed to rent a car.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh no, I walk everywhere, and yeah,
Keegan's not allowed to rent a car. He's got an Uber everywhere.
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
You should see my Uber bill from Colorado and Kansas City.
I'll make you a fake ID if you need it.
I'm sure you're going to send it to me. I'm sure you're going to send it to me.
I already sent you the number.
Keegan,
I think I'm almost there.
Yeah. Keegan, talk a little bit about the just game day experience overall. You mentioned pregame a little bit, but what was the hospitality like in the Deion Sanders era? Are they kind of like, do they amp up the things for the media in the press box? Was there anything cool going on during the game and whatnot? Did you see some celebrities on the field? Like all the allure that everyone talks about when it comes to Colorado football, is that pretty evident on Saturday?
It's very clear programs that are like just now kind of starting to get into football, and like football is big at the school because like you'll go to a Texas Tech who has had football like rolling for a long time, and football is the thing in Lubbock, and you'll have like a burger bar, a nacho bar, burrito bowl bar, freezer full of ice cream, deep fried cheesecake rolls, like all this stuff. Okay. And then you'll go to Colorado and you get a voucher for a hot dog. and you have to go stand in line in the concession line and wait for a hot dog, which I'm not going to complain about free food. That's my big thing about working in the media. I don't complain about anything. I get to go to a game for free and get a really good seat, with either air conditioning or heat. So I'm very, very thankful for that. But it is just so funny, the dichotomy of like, when I covered Indiana, I got a gas station sandwich that was 90% bread, and someone literally choked on during a game once, like actually choked on it. And then you go to basketball.
Was there a hold on, timeout? Was the Heimlich maneuver involved?
I don't know.
Did they have water for them to wash it down?
One of the SIDs told me later in the year, they're like, yeah, someone literally choked on that. So, and then you cover a basketball game and you've got Jersey
Mike's.
The
Heimlich was involved?
No, I'm making sure the person's okay.
Right? Did they have to resuscitate? What level of choking are we talking about?
I'm guessing since it was notable, it wasn't just clearing your throat and then it's okay. I'm guessing that there was some sort of forcing the clogged object out of the person's windpipe in order for them to not die. But yeah, so the media hospitality was fine. The press box is old, but it was big. It was an open air press box. So like you could actually open the big windows and see, which was pretty cool. I would have hoped to know that before the game. So when it dropped to 45 degrees, I could have brought a jacket, but I didn't know that. So that was pretty cool. Game day experience was really cool. Kind of similar to Texas Tech. They do it up big before. The band is very, very talented. Yell leaders on the field before the game, and then seeing Ralphie run was actually kind of cool. And Dan had said it before. Yeah, Dan had said it before. Like Sam told me, Ralphie's getting up in years, so he might not go very far. But he started jogging, and then like something pissed him off, and he just started sprinting all over the field. It was pretty cool. But Boulder's awesome. I would love to go back whenever UC plays there. That town is awesome. I still think Indiana's a better overall campus, but that Colorado's right there, like with the elite campuses of the entire country.
Yeah, I agree. And the weather is always great.
Yes, yes. It's supposed to snow like tomorrow, and they said there's still going to be 60-degree days in the winter. So, which is crazy.
It's absolutely insane. But yeah, Chad, that should be a trip that we all take one year.
Yeah, if you guys pay to get out there, I'll gladly meet you out there.
Well, yeah.
You don't want a road trip with Bob?
Yeah,
I'll go with Bob. Absolutely.
I'm telling Bob, you better be listening to this right now.
Yeah.
It's happening.
A van trip with Bob? Yeah, that's always a yes. I will pay for Rockies. That. Yeah, I'm in.
It has to be Bob and Taryn. There can't be one or the other. Like that dynamic is perfect.
You have to have both. You have to have both.
Absolutely.
Still, the highlight of my career might be Bob rapping from the front seat.
Yeah, I was going to say,
like freestyling on the way home.
There's got to be a segment of the drive where Bob is sitting in the front seat with Taryn.
How did we not record that? How did we not make Bob rapping, freestyling content?
Would have been TikTok viral.
I messed that up bad.
Yeah, I was too busy working in the back seat, just grinding.
If by working you mean curled up sleeping in the back seat.
Whoa. Hey.
Yeah. You kicked Bob out of his seat to sleep back there, Brent.
Hey,
it sounds like that worked out for everyone.
Bygones, baby.
Because would Bob have been rapping from the back seat? I'm just saying.
Yeah, he would have.
Brent was like, I'm going to need the back seat to work. He worked for like 30 minutes, and then he just stretched out on the back seat and slept.
Hey, that's work. Mental reps, man.
I do remember, like, there was something going on at work that was not good. Like, someone was pissed off at you. You were on the way to Kansas. Like, I remember that.
I was like talking angrily, but like
trying to keep your
to not sound too loud.
It's very passive aggressive. Very passive aggressive.
I think
good cop, bad cop all into one. But okay, so overall, minus the loss, it was a Sounds like a solid trip. So,
Well, here I want to get your guys' opinion on this, and the chat can kind of chime in because I'm curious. But I need to know your least favorite airplane travel people that you deal with. Okay,
oh,
so
okay.
here's number one: personal item in the overhead bin. So
Okay.
they think that they are entitled to put their backpack in the overhead bin. Leans the seat back with you sitting behind them.
Fair. Okay.
Okay.
No, that the seat leans back. If you're on an airplane, you expect the seat in front of you to lean back. That's a you problem.
No.
Yeah.
I have never once even thought about doing that with someone behind me because it
Same.
is so incredibly inconsiderate.
It's that way.
Not
It's
standing
that way.
up. Not standing. I don't care
You
about
stand
standing
up
up.
when the plane lands.
No,
You
no, no,
stand
no.
up
I
when the plane
don't.
lands.
But it's the people
Totally.
that stand up and then cut everyone. Like
Yeah,
they're the most important
one.
people to get off the
That
plane
one.
first.
You know what
Okay?
I do? You know what I do? I like quickly go out in the aisle and just stand there so that no one else can,
I don't care about that. But like people walk up right next to me, like they need
No,
like they
Brent's
need to cut me.
blocking.
No,
Brent's doing
I'm
like
blocking.
the 18-wheeler
There we
in
go.
construction
No,
where it cuts
literally I'm
off the
blocking.
lane.
And then like the person across the aisle will like look at me and be like, "Good job," and I'll say, "Yeah, I know. We're in this together."
So
yeah, I know.
so
I know.
personal item in the overhead bin, leaning seat back, cutting line on the plane, and also standing on the moving walkway. That one makes me mad too.
Walking. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll stand
Who
on
are
the
you-
moving walkway.
Who are
Oh
you
my
to judge
gosh.
about? Who are you to judge about the personal item in the overhead bin? Who cares if it's under your
It's for
feet
people
or
with carry-ons. Leave
Did
the room
you-
for people with carry-ons so they don't have to check
Did
the
you
bag.
Did you not have space in the upper
Ooh.
and you had to go underneath?
No,
Was
because
that-
I got on the
that's
plane
it?
like one of
Okay.
the first 4 groups.
Then what's the problem?
But people are like having to move to the back of the plane and put carry-ons 30 seats away. So then they have to rush back. They're supposed to go under the seat. Put
Your
it under the
backpack can
seat.
go under the seat. The backpack can go under the seat.
Yes.
My backpack
you-
would not fit under the
That
seat.
then it shouldn't be on the plane. That's the entire point.
No, they don't make those seats tall enough. That's a them problem, not a me problem.
I hate this.
Uh,
I'm looking for overhead space, and there's a backpack where my bag can be. Like you're not that special.
Well,
I
standing up when the
moved
plane
it.
standing up when the
Shove
plane
it.
lands is number one. Like
Yeah,
the
probably.
people that like that one's number one. Don't fit in your seat, but only bought one ticket is number a close number
Oh,
two.
see, that's
You ever had to do it?
I mean,
Is that
to be honest
It's-
with you, for
there's
me,
it's the
that's
most
just, like,
unpleasant thing ever. There's nothing you can do. They are literally invading
Right.
your space. Like no.
I mean, it's
There
like
should
when
also
you're
be
laying
two
on a
armrests.
couch.
There should be 2 armrests.
You know, you're laying on a couch and
Should-
like your back is up against the back of the couch. That's how I would treat that scenario, Chad. So like,
Shouldn't be
you kinda just have
shouldn't
a
be
little back,
jockeying.
you
It
know?
shouldn't be jockeying for who's getting the armrest here. There should be 2 armrests.
I'll give up the armrest. I just don't want you in my seat. That's all.
Oh, on my flight today, I was in the middle and I like immediately did both armrests. I was like, I own these armrests, guys. And I owned
I'll
them
go
the
front.
entire flight.
Like if you're gonna take the back of the armrest, I'll take the front. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Kind of
We're
hold
gonna
hands
split
a
it
little bit.
50-50.
Little
I'll
arm
go
hand.
Yeah.
I'll give you 60-40, but we're gonna share.
Yeah.
No, I'm the guy immediately scouting for where is an open seat I can move to if this armrest is already gone. Like, nah.
Yeah,
I mean-
but
Go ahead.
on my 6 a.m. flight from Kansas City to Denver, I
Yeah.
had the seat in front of me lean back,
Mhm.
and then I had a baby kicking me behind me
Ooh.
simultaneously.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have their Venmo? I'd like to send them some money. Keegan, I do have a standing on the sidewalk, the mobile sidewalk story.
Oh, go ahead.
We were going to LA, and obviously Kelly needed the mobile. Like there are some people, Keegan,
Yes.
that medically need the ability to not walk all that way. So we were standing as the mobile sidewalk was going, and there was this guy that was like, he was in a hurry.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get past us and kind of like nudged, like he wasn't rude about it, but like
He was trying to get by.
Yeah. Kevin, kneel on. No, he had a show in Westchester or something the night before, and I looked over, and sure as shit, it's Kevin Nealon.
Huh.
And he sat one row behind us on the plane back to because we were going to LA, and you know, Kelly wasn't doing great, so we got first class. I splurged so she'd have a little bit more room, and we had better seats than Kevin Nealon on the plane, so I felt pretty good about that.
There we go.
I love you in the movies with Adam Sandler, Mr. Kevin.
No, actually, at that point in time, like I think my favorite role he's ever done was in Weeds.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Weeds, he
Yeah.
was awesome in Weeds.
Hilarious. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for me though, I hate when people try and get off the flight fast. Like it's just like, and then you see him on the tarmac walking, and you're like, bro, like you literally just sprinted out, and I'm like 5 people behind you. Like, what's the reason here? But yeah,
The people that get mad that we don't talk enough about sports on this podcast are going to be pissed tonight.
Well, everyone has an opinion on this.
It's a bye week.
Yeah.
It's a bye week. But yeah, that's traveling. Quite fun it is. Yeah. Well, should we timestamp this real fast, and then we can move into some b-ball talk?
I suppose. Who's doing the riffing segment, Brent? Is that you?
Oh man. Yeah, I guess.
Riffing with Young.
Yeah. Sure.
Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They service over 150 restaurants with weekly low minimum next day deliveries. They provide a wide range of food service products from to-go containers, cups, custom printed products, eco-friendly, and much more. They also have cleaning and restroom supplies for all your janitorial needs. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases. Keegan, Kelsey's not happy with you, by the way.
Oh, I clowned her today.
You did.
Clowned her.
He was not happy with Keegan.
Oh
today.
my gosh.
Okay, now.
She was making some grammatical errors in her text to Keegan.
Well, no, she made fun of me in the first text and spelled everything wrong. And then I said,
"This is the same guy who just said throwed earlier in this podcast."
I did say throwed. That was pretty bad.
He's just used to like saying something, and then the red squiggly line shows up underneath, so you can fix it. Harder.
I did say throwed.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was bragging about getting tickets to a certain event, and she spelled everything wrong. So then she said, "You're fired," but didn't spell. She used the wrong "your." So then I corrected her again, and then she said, "I hate you." She spelled that right though. She spelled "I hate you" right.
Did she misspell T Swift, or what was it?
No. She said like red for some reason, like READ. I don't even know.
Like Beetlejuice spelling red.
Yeah. LSKER.
Yeah.
We are off the rails tonight.
Yes,
I love it.
It's bye week, baby. It's bye week.
Next Monday is the bye week show. Like,
yeah,
that's
the
the
one
one
you have to worry.
Well, no, we're doing.
Oh, that's right.
Sunday.
Yeah, basketball preview.
Yeah, we'll do next Sunday.
Didn't we
well,
talk to Nico in passing?
There's a game Monday, Aaron. The basketball season opener is next Monday night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
hooray!
Unless you want me to do it from Fifth Third Arena, I will. I don't care.
Mr. Brendel, we're shutting down. The PvP is taking 2.5 hours.
No, Josh, we are frenemies. We're most certainly frenemies, Kelsey and I.
Yeah. You haven't argued as much lately
because she hasn't been around as much lately.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
now.
fair.
It's a win-win.
I guess we'll do the new riff and I'll ask basketball centric questions and sit back and let you guys answer.
That's where we're gonna go with this thing.
Might as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I thought we were just gonna do basketball and then we would do the new riffing thing, but I mean, you know what? We don't have to. Fiercely independent and unabashedly innovative, New Riff produces award-winning bourbon, rye whiskey, and gin at their distillery in Newport, Kentucky. The Aquafire tasting room, located on the 3rd floor of the distillery, features cocktails, flights, and pours of New Riff's entire line of spirits, including rare, limited edition, and distillery exclusive releases. Bearcat Journal listeners can save 50% on distillery tours when you use the code Bearcats24. For more information or to book a tour, visit newriffdistilling.com. And we're in talks. We're in talks on the Bearcat Journal New Riff bottle.
Oh.
We're working on it.
By the way, my brother collects bourbon, and he said that he would love to get his hands on a Bearcat Journal one. So
okay,
it's a I think because they're known for their like people collect some of their what's it called, a bottle select or select I don't
barrel
know
select,
barrel select yeah. So he would with the logo on there. That's another specialty one. It might as well. So
you had it on the Kansas City trip. It was their bourbon is delicious.
I had enough for me and Keegan combined. Let's just say that
you did.
It was good fuel for the nap on the way home and work. I mean, but anyway, I just took my little shot of New Riff. And now we're back. So, guys,
what was that noise?
Oh, it's me taking a shot off camera.
That's not what it sounded like.
Okay.
No.
Well.
Some kind of shot.
Say you were in Kansas City for Big 12 Media Days. What would be your biggest takeaway, whether it be answers from the peel away, whether it be opposing teams, whether it be anything, if you will, from the Big 12 Media Day? And Chad and Aaron, you weren't there, but you were able to take it in from wherever you were during those times. So, yeah, guys, that's question number 1 from the new Riffin with Brenton.
My biggest takeaway, there wasn't a ton from UC, I didn't think. Obviously, last year was much more information filled because Wes was in the middle of dealing with Aziz's and Jamil's 2-time transfer waivers.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest thing just from the entire event is a lot of coaches were asked about Tony Bennett's retirement, and there weren't a lot of answers. They're like, yeah, I'm going to miss Tony. Tony was a great coach. A lot of the answers were like, that sucked, and it is not good at all that he retired. And that is it's not a good sign for the sport of college basketball that he retired. So there wasn't a lot of sugarcoating from the coaches there about Bennett's retirement. They were all kind of pretty concerned about it in the grand scheme of things for college basketball.
I mean,
my biggest takeaway is Brett Yormark is always the best dressed man in the room, and just literally it just seems like he's always just putting it right on the table. Like, I'm just here, and he almost spells out the business plan, and just he definitely treats the conference like a business. But he's just pretty much, I don't know, the dude just, he has cojones, and I don't know. Anytime he speaks, I'm just excited that he's the guy in charge. Always.
Aaron, I will say, typically, not always, but typically, the best dressed man in the room is the guy in the room with the most money, and Brett Yormark is the guy in the room with the most money.
Generally. Yeah.
For me, I think it's just a mutual respect across this league. Like, every coach is sitting at that podium going, I don't know how the hell I'm going to win 12 games in this league. Like, 12-8, yeah, I'll take it. If you could, I think every coach, if you told him like you can go 12-8 and take that now or roll the dice, every one of them would be like, "Yep, 12-8,
Yeah.
let's rock and
Top,
roll."
you'd be a 5 seed or better with 12-8. So
Right,
yeah.
12-8. Yeah, I'm good. I'll rock with 12-8. I mean, they're predicting what 14-6 is probably going to win this league.
Insane.
15-5. You go 15-5.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're a monster.
Yeah. Well, way more than a monster. But I also thought it was interesting. It sounds like the overall feel about the 20-game conference schedule is not positive. So I think
Why would it be? I don't want to do that.
Right. Literally, no break is the other thing that I heard a lot of coaches kind of second and third each other talking about. So
yeah, I'm bigger on the no break thing than the 20 games. And I don't love the 20 games. Like not having a week off in the middle of the season to just kind of like try to like rest up and give your guys a couple days where they're not in. I mean, that's the thing that people don't think about is you are in constant game prep because you have to take a day off and you have 2 games, right? And you want a 2-day like run up to prepare for the next opponent, right? So 7, like that's the entire week. You get 1 day off, 2 days of preparing for a game, play a game, 2 days of preparing for a game, play a game, 1 day off, and you just repeat that for 10 weeks. There's no time to, give a guy a day. Like there's no time to just, okay, you guys can sleep tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like that it's gonna be there. The war of attrition, and this is gonna be the interesting thing. Is like, where are these teams at heading into the conference tournament and the NCAA tournament? Because they are going to be beat to hell.
They kind of were last year with 18 game. Yeah. I mean, Houston was stumbling into the NCAA tournament, and then they lose their best player. I mean, it's just truly is a war of attrition. Keegan.
I think they go back to 18 real quick. No, I don't think that once you turn that page, it almost never goes back.
Hard to put toothpaste back in the tube.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Keys. My bad.
Chad, I'm curious how much you've looked into it because admittedly I haven't done a ton. But who do you think has the deepest roster in the league, and how does UC compare to them in terms of just depth?
I think UC's up there. It's hard to answer that right now because, like, we thought Kansas, like, based on their portal additions, we all thought Kansas was going to be pretty deep last year, and they couldn't go past 5. Like, their 6 was bad. You know what I mean? Like, the guys that they brought in didn't work out. So
Nick Timberlake, is that who it was?
Yeah, like they were fairly high regarded guys. Where you looked at it and thought Kansas should at least be like 8 or 9 deep, and they struggled to go past 5. Because remember, Furphy started the season on the bench, and they had to put him in the starting lineup because they needed him to be that 5th guy. The transfer portal makes that question so freaking hard to answer, Keegan, because we think a lot of these guys are moving up. They're either guys that are moving up a level. Right. Are they going to translate to this league? Or guys like staying in the Power 5 that didn't play a lot or didn't like their situation at the place that they had been? How do they fit in? So Cincinnati's probably the easy answer because they have 6 guys returning that were really good, or, that were good, top of the roster to middle of the roster type guys. And then you add a really good freshman and you add 3 transfers that should help. That automatically is 9 for Cincinnati. We know Dylan Mitchell is going to work in this league. He's started 72 games in this league. Like, there's no question about can Dylan Mitchell play in the Big 12.
Yeah.
There's question about Arrington Page, and that's fair. There's, can Connor Hickman make the jump? That's fair. the good news is a lot of guys from the Valley, like guards from the Valley, typically translate up pretty well. But there's no guarantee. The good news with Connor Hickman is if he's good, like if he translates, he is a major factor at the top of this roster. If he doesn't translate, he's a middle of the roster guard that's going to give you good minutes, even if he's not a like double digit threat, right? So I think there's a safe 8, probably 9 with Cincinnati that you roll. And I don't know that anybody else, maybe Iowa State is right there. They returned most of their dudes.
Yeah.
And supplemented it with what they had last year. So probably Iowa State 1, Cincinnati 2. And from there, like,
Kansas,
Baylor's,
you have to throw up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know. Like they could barely field 5 last year, Brent.
Right, but they returned 3 of those 5.
Okay, but the question is depth. Like
Yeah.
to 7, 8,
just
9.
raw
I
depth,
don't know that we can say that for sure with Kansas until we see it. They might be, as deep as anybody in the league.
Right.
Baylor turned over a lot. Houston,
Iowa State's the answer.
I think Iowa State's won easily. Houston
returns a lot,
but they lost Shed.
They lost Shed, yeah. So
Iowa State, Cincinnati, Houston. I don't know enough about Arizona yet, really. I know they've got like 2 or 3 guys that are projected in the top 100.
They lost Ballou, so
they lost Ballou. Yeah, I don't know why he threw the last year of his career away, but
I think I know. Wink, wink. I think one of the things that's kind of, and it just kind of gets wrapped up in that whole continuity word, but the fact that UC has a guard who has progressed so much and is probably going to be the starter, replacing the starting point guard who is still on the team is one of the more impressive things with Jizzle James and Day Thomas. Because Day Thomas, he's not where he was last year in terms of health, and I'll take that, but he hasn't changed at all. Like he's still going to be a really good defensive player and make shots at the rim and, be able to hit from range 29, 32% maybe. But I think that fact is kind of being overlooked with just how good Jizzle is. But I don't think you should expect much of a drop off from Day. Granted, he is healthy.
Well, especially the fact that Day has one pretty elite tool in his bag, and that's just a shutdown perimeter defender. So on ball perimeter defender. So that is an absolute luxury coming off the bench. So yeah, that is a fascinating thing. And then the fact that all of your returnees aren't guys that you need massive jumps from. You know what I mean? Like Dan, CMOS, like if those guys are just consistently good, obviously you'll take the jumps out of them, but if they're consistently good, then they're just going to be right where they need to be and pushing forward. If Jizzle is the one that takes the massive jump, if Aziz kind of develops a little bit more of I'm saying like I want Dan to take a massive jump. I want CMOS to show his efficiency more, but I'm saying it's not like they have pieces that were developmental pieces that are returning. They're pieces that are strong pieces that are returning.
I think CMOS is going to have to shoot above 40% for them to kind of like make that Sweet 16 run that they know that they know.
If he shoots 38%, you mean like your stance is if CMOS shoots 38% on the season, they're not good enough to be in a Sweet 16 team.
He's going to have to like make those big shots and be around that clip of where he ended the season last year.
Okay.
Yeah. He's going to have to be one of the best 3-point shooters.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree, Keegan. Yeah.
He's going to have to be efficient. Like he's going to have to be the type of efficient. It's why I said I think he will be the leading scorer for this team. Yeah. Because I think Jizzle's going to have huge nights and Dan's going to have huge nights and Dylan's going to have huge nights. But you're going to look every night and CMOS is going to have 14.
Right.
Will there be a couple nights he has 24? Yeah, sure. But like you're not going to have. I don't think there are going to be many of those nights where CMOS has 6 or 8. You know what I mean?
There can't be 4 to 5 game stretches of those games. That's when
Yeah,
it gets
I agree.
concerning. Yeah.
I agree. See, we're on the
There's-
same page, Keys. It's just
We're always on the same page, Chad.
it's like you're trying to teach my
Had to
kids.
talk through.
Sometimes it's in the wording.
Yeah. I mean, I agree though, because there were moments right after the whole, car incident and whatnot last year where CMOS was like, oh man, he's not hitting shots. He's not really showing anything that we thought he was going to coming into the season. And then of course, defense was something that he was going to have to continuously get better with. So it was kind of like, I don't know. At moments, you were like, I don't know if we can have CMOS on the floor at this time. And then as he got back to full strength, as he started to get the game back underneath him, then you saw like, oh, wow, this guy's a bona fide scorer, offensive player, facilitator, closer. So, yeah, if he can keep that up throughout the entire season this year and avoid scary crosswalks, then it's going to be light years better for his trajectory and the team's. But, yeah, I agree.
He didn't start the year, right? He came off the bench.
Game 1, he came off the bench with
He came off the
Atlanta,
bench for a little bit.
I
Think
think the
about
starting
that.
5 was Day, it was Day, CJ, Newman, Vic, and
Odie, and then
Odie
Aziz got
started.
eligible,
Yeah.
and then it was
What a
Aziz.
year.
Like, think about that starting 5, and then where
How long
they are.
ago was that? That was a decade ago.
Golly. Oh man, I just
Like,
got shipped.
right now, this time last year, we're thinking about Vic averaging 14 a game and them getting in the tournament.
Well,
Yeah.
and we're thinking about, dude, what if Vic knocks down 3 threes a game? Like, oh my gosh.
That was just
I
you.
did.
No,
No, that was Wes too.
that was
Wes
a
said
lot of
that a
people.
lot.
Said he's knocking down what, a 70% clip in practice. Is like, okay, all right.
That might have been an exaggeration.
I think the proof was in the pudding. Although that Georgia Tech game was electric when him and CJ went like a combined
Sure.
10 of 12. I was like, whoa.
Yeah,
We can
playing
shoot it.
ski
Yeah. And the Aziz block and the oop.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
on his first offensive possession.
Yeah. It's like, wow, we're going to go to the Final Four. Anyway, question number 2.
Bet the house on UC over Miami.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to be rich. Question number 2. New riffing with Brenton. Okay. Your stance on these things called super secret scrimmages, and if you heard anything about a super secret scrimmage this past weekend that wasn't the Duke taking down Arizona State by 53 points or 56 points, whatever it was, more so the other one with an ACC team taking on a Big 12 team, Cincinnati at Pitt. I think they played somewhere crazy. But what would be your takeaway?
Western Reserve, or no, somewhere in Cleveland. Like a D2 school in Cleveland is where they played.
Yeah.
Case
It was
Western.
Case Western Reserve
Case
in
Western, yeah.
Cleveland, Ohio. What would be your guys' takeaway and any snippets or any reason?
Here's my favorite part of the whole super secret scrimmage thing now is that both staffs agree when it like we're gonna keep this kind of quiet. We're gonna, we just want to get our work in. We want to face somebody else. And then inevitably, whoever wins, and look, if Cincinnati would have won, I'd have a lot more information about how this scrimmage went on Saturday. Like, let's just be perfectly honest here. Whoever wins just takes whatever they agreed upon, and immediately John Rothstein had the score like before they took their shoes off and put their slides on after the game.
Yeah.
Like, like one of my texts literally to one of my sources was, hey, Pitt already leaked the score to Rothstein. Like, how did things go? Like that's the stupid part about it is it used to actually be pretty difficult to get the information out of these things because there were like the NCAA did try to like monitor it and like make sure, because make no mistake, we have super secret scrimmages because the coaches want them. If the coaches didn't want them, they would be gone.
Yeah.
And teams would just like do exhibitions or charity about like that would be the norm. They want to have these super secret scrimmages mainly so they can work on like practice stuff against somebody else. Like you hear about teams, you know, Wes talked about it last year. Purdue, I think it was Purdue.
2 years ago.
No, it might have been Indiana
no.
State.
Yeah. Okay.
Where we want to, like, the agreement was to go 3 20-minute periods. And in the third period, it was going to be a bunch of situational stuff. And then the other team is up after 2, like after 40 minutes. And they're like, we're actually, like we got a couple guys banged up. You know, we're probably not going to do that third period. And then, you go to the locker room to change and they're putting out highlights. Like if that's where we're at, if you're allowed to just call John Rothstein and get the score out there and call your local newspaper guy and
write up an article.
Yeah, here's Timmy had 15 and Jim Bob had 27. Like if that's where we're at, and then you're releasing highlights, like your highlights on your social media account, those aren't
Just
super secret.
Of your team.
Of your team, yeah. Those aren't super. There's nothing super secret about that. So cut the shit. We're beyond the super secret scrimmage thing. That's no longer a thing. So cut the shit and just sell tickets and let people come watch. And if it's really that big of a deal, you tell the NCAA, when we do these things, we want to be able to create the structure. Like the home team or like, whoever, whatever. If we want to play 3 20-minute halves, or we want to go, I heard, I think Xavier Notre Dame went 4 12-minute periods. So they played like an NBA game. They essentially played like 48 minutes.
College basketball. Cool.
But like, let the teams decide. Let the fans come in. There's nothing super secret about this shit anymore. It's not 8 years ago. Like everybody has the information from the winning team almost instantly. So like, let's stop kidding ourselves.
Right.
That's a definitive take. So you guys don't really have to add on if you don't want to.
Yeah. I mean, I literally had a double-digit lead at halftime before Cincinnati gained the lead midway through the second half. Corin made several big shots down the stretch, and Austin made an impact with his athleticism. Lowe and Leggett had strong games as well, per source. The game took place at Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. That is the substance of Pitt's write-up on the game. And the highlights, there was no Cincinnati highlights other than Dylan Mitchell's getting his foot stepped on, falling down, the guy hitting a 3. Aziz going through a passing lane, the guy ended up dunking, and then a few threes made by Pitt. There you go. Chad, I remember back like 3-4 years ago, the greatest thing would be when the stat sheet would leak from the super secret scrimmage.
Right.
And you'd be like, oh, whoa, what? Keith Williams had 17 points? Wow. This is great. So, I don't know. I'm sure more will trickle out as the week progresses, but either way, sounds like, I don't know, Cincinnati was in the game, and that's that. They played more players, and the rotations were not as deep as they're going to be, and it was a practice game. And then Pitt.
Well, but here's the thing. I hate doing this whole Pitt tried to win the scrimmage and Cincinnati didn't.
Yeah,
no.
Right.
Cincinnati's working on a deeper roster. They are planning on playing 10, 11 guys. So what they're trying to get out of the scrimmage is a lot different than like Jeff Capel is going to play 7, 8, 9 guys. So, the season starts in a week. This is like the final tune-up, before you get into like a game week situation.
Rehearsal.
Jeff Capel's going to play. Jeff Capel's not going to play guys on his bench that he doesn't intend to really use, like once the season starts. They also have, I think, 2 or 3 like high major games in November. I looked at it where Pitt, like they have, I think 2 or 3 bye games, but then they're into like the heart of their schedule quicker than UC is. So they're going to have a different objective.
West Virginia the second week on Friday.
Yeah.
And then LSU,
So, like,
Ohio State, Mississippi State, Virginia Tech. Wow.
Yeah. Their like goals, their like desire of what they want to get out of this scrimmage is going to be a lot different than what Cincinnati's is. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's okay. So the likelihood is if they're playing a shorter rotation, their top 7 guys are pretty close to Cincinnati's top 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah.
Then they're going to gain an advantage by Cincinnati playing more guys. But what do? You can't demand that they play guys that aren't supposed to, like, they're not part of the script for when the season kicks off in a week.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mind it. It's not an excuse. It's not that Pitt played to win and Cincinnati was just playing extra guys. No, right. Wes is working on a roster where he plans on, intends on playing 9, 10, 11 guys regularly.
Yeah.
Pitt is working on a roster where they're planning on playing fewer guys. So that makes sense that they played fewer guys in the scrimmage. Because I hate that it comes off sounding like a whiny bitch.
Yeah.
Like, you know, Dayton did this in their scrimmage with Xavier. Oh, Xavier tried to win. Shut up. It's not that. It's that each situation is different, and that's going to produce scattered results in a scrimmage. Because if it's a real game, Cincinnati would have kept their best guys on the floor to try to beat Pitt's best guys.
Look, I'm happy we lost because now Wes gets to get into practice, get in their grills, give them what they did wrong. And he was borderline upset that they didn't have enough that he could get on them for after the first scrimmage. So now
they played too well against Ohio State.
He's got it all right. He's got it all on tape now, so he can get into practice, get up in their grills, and get things back to where he wants the West train rolling going into the season.
There's 4 people here. I'm trying to be efficient. This is how out of the loop I was in Colorado covering the football game. They posted a 1.5-minute long highlight tape from a secret scrimmage.
Yeah.
What?
I think 2 years ago was the first year you were allowed to do that.
I wouldn't
teams started doing it, and the teams they were playing against are like, what the fuck was that? You can't post highlight clips from a super secret scrimmage. And then it was like, oh yeah, the NCAA changed that rule, and you're now allowed to post.
I wouldn't schedule with someone who did that. I think the entire thing of a secret scrimmage is to just get a pulse of what your team has, and I'd rather not have the entire world being able to see my team's defensive weaknesses 2 weeks before the season.
You'd make a great D3 coach.
Good. Scrappy. No scholarships. And then
for the love of the game.
The second thing, people saying like they didn't want to win. Have you ever watched a Wes Miller press conference after they lost?
Right.
Do you understand how scared I am to ask him a question after they lose?
After they win.
I'm terrified. No, after they win during the regular season, he is a joy to talk to.
I'm going to tell you right now, you would have cried like a bitch when Mick was here after a loss.
I know.
You'd have been curled up in the fetal position in the back corner of the room. He went after me for like 3 years after every loss. Like, as soon as I asked the question, he was like, well, I don't agree with that at all. I'm like, all right. Okay.
All right.
Keegan found an on-campus safe room.
I literally, I came across that video of when I think it was after Iowa State or Houston, and I think you asked the question, and he got mad, and he was just like, I'm sorry, guys. I hate losing. I'm not trying to be a prick. I hate losing. I know you have jobs.
Was that at Kansas?
No, that was that was the other time he got mad at Chad.
Well, because the game after Kansas, he had to kind of say, sorry, this is.
I think it was
same thing.
yeah. They lost. It was a home loss later in the season. I think it was Iowa State or Kansas or Houston.
Yeah. Oh man.
Coaches don't like to lose. They don't.
No, ever. Secret scrimmage or
they
not.
might lose their damn job. You lose enough. Hey, I'll go back. We're talking about Mick. I'll go back to Mick. Every October, they tie you to the tracks. And it is your job to get untied by March because the train's coming. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're at. You better get off the tracks because the train's coming whether you like it or not. Like, that's how it goes. They wanted to win. They didn't play well enough from what I've heard. They didn't shoot it. Obviously, they shot it great against Ohio State. They clearly didn't shoot it that well against Pitt. It sounds like turnovers. They're still, getting that narrowed in, dialed down. But, credit to Pitt.
It's
Damian
also
Dunn,
like
in his 17th year of college, gave him fits.
Damian Dunn is on that team.
He's on, yeah.
He was one of their leading scorers.
Went back to Pennsylvania.
Did you, Aaron? You know who I saw at media days?
Why would
Your
I know?
Your favorite player in the Big 12,
Pop Isaacs.
Javon Roberts.
Is he's still eligible?
He's still there.
He's
Oh,
still
yeah,
on Houston.
Yeah.
That guy's like 32.
Yeah. He was battling for rebounds against Gary Clark.
And to go back to them losing to Pitt, were you under the impression that they were just going to beat every team that they were supposed to beat? Like they weren't going to drop a game at some point and have an off night?
I mean, Pitt was what, like
asking Brent,
38
I
in
think.
KenPom? Like, Pitt's got a good team.
But
asking
yeah,
Brent, the answer is always yes. On
What, did I think they're going to win every game?
that they're supposed to win.
Well,
They're
obviously,
favored in.
man. Come on, dude. Which, by the way, if you look at KenPom, they take on the Golden Lions in Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're going to dominate them. But anyway,
What I'm saying is save that anger for the regular season. Like, if you want to be angry when they drop a game like that in the regular season, go ahead. And if you want to be kind of concerned now, okay, but don't panic. I don't think there's a reason to panic over dropping a secret scrimmage.
Yeah, I agree.
Fan is short for fanatic, Keegan.
Another thing is I like a lot like what Wes said earlier about, in all the press conferences leading up to the Ohio State exhibition was the fact that last year Arkansas and Purdue played in a super secret scrimmage, or maybe it was an exhibition. I don't know, one of the two. And I think Arkansas won, or he wasn't even sure who won out of those two. One team went to the national championship game. The other team didn't even make the tournament. So, and that had a lot of buzz going into that game. So you can literally draw pretty much nothing. I mean, did Arizona State throw out their managers in the whole second half against Duke? I don't even know. Do you think it'll even matter by the end of the season? No. So it's just take it for what it is, and just know that in a week the games will actually matter. Golden Lions come to town. But yeah, I was going to ask a fun question, but it's a minute. We're already an hour 53 in.
That was
so I think
the longest new riff segment ever.
Thank you. New riff.
Do I have a favorite Wes Miller press conference moment? Yeah, when he yelled at me at Kansas. I didn't even do anything, but I asked a very regular, normal question.
It's not a damn drought or
no.
What word did you use? Slump. It ain't a damn.
Oh no, funk. You use funk.
Funk is the word. Yeah.
You guys are in a bit of a funk. He's like, we're not in a funk. What are you?
First song in the car after that would have been "We Got the Funk."
We got the. That's a good one.
Ow, we want the funk.
I think my first song was like, I want to get drunk.
what did we call it? The F word? Like we weren't no more F. We can't say the F
Yeah.
word anymore.
Yeah.
That freaking Brad Schindel at the Kansas press conference asking bad
the
questions.
Topeka, the Brad Chendel from the Topeka Tribune as an asshole.
Especially innovative and quick paper supply, and let's go with the mail.
I mean, hold on. Jeez. Quick Paper Supply, your local and family-owned restaurant supply company for all your non-food products. They provide mostly disposable restaurant supplies, to-go containers, cups, pizza boxes, to-go bags, can liners, napkins. They've been open since 2009 and are one of the largest minority-owned companies in the city. Call Nick 513-470-2029 and reference Bearcats for 20% off your first month of purchases. Mailbag, let's do it.
Let's get it done and get out of here.
Spooky.
It's not. Would you be willing to have a 10:15 kickoff for a nip at night game? Let's say it's the home game scheduled in between two games out in the West Coast. Absolutely not. What is wrong with you?
Fuck no. Let me
also
fuck no. No, absolutely not.
I don't even know that you'd be I don't even know that you'd be allowed to for noise ordinance rules.
I'm down.
Good point.
Yes.
No. Get to campus at 7:00 at night for a game that doesn't start for 3 hours.
Well, how about those basketball games that they used to do way back in the day that started at midnight?
The marathon, the tip-off marathon or whatever.
Well, didn't I thought UC had some games that tipped off at midnight, like way back in the day. I'm almost
they
positive.
had Midnight Madness.
No, I think it was
the Great Alaskan Shootout.
No, one's on campus. I'm pretty sure.
No way. Unless it was part of the ESPN tip-off marathon where they would do 24 hours
of
games. Maybe that.
But I'm down.
All right.
But no, absolutely not.
Was nip at night ever a thing, or was it a figment of our collective imaginations? It's actually the Mandela effect. Going back to what we mentioned last week with CERN, the hydrogen collider. You think it happened.
Well, here's the problem. It happened, but you know when it happened, Aaron? It happened on Thursday and Friday nights. It almost never happened. I'm serious. It almost never happened on Saturday. It was always those Big East and then a little bit lesser, but still the AAC, like Thursday night, Friday night, prime time, kickoff spots where Nip at Night became famous. It was never really a Saturday thing.
What are you going to do?
Still one of my favorite Nippert game, though, was Oregon State. The shock that was a good Oregon State team that came in here Brian Kelly's first year, and Cincinnati kicked their ass. And then the next game was a day game against Marshall where 15,000 students showed up for 7,000 seats, and they let everybody in. And the place was just busting at the seams because it's similar to what's going on with that team in the sticks in the middle of nowhere in Indiana. It was that realization that, this guy is not like anything we've ever had coaching this football program. So for me, that Oregon State game was, I know the Rutgers game, the Rutgers night game was one that everybody will talk about the season before. But that Thursday night against Oregon State, I think really the Brian Kelly era took off like a rocket ship from that point. Okay, you can go on.
Grade the play of the offensive line so far this season relative to your preseason expectations.
Slightly below expectations, especially in run blocking. Looking at PFF, they had games going from week 1. Their run block grade was 74 week 1, and then 67.3, 66.3, and then 63.5 against Houston. Since then, their highest grade was 60.8 against Colorado. They had 59, 51, and 56 against Tech, UCF, and Arizona State. So that is concerning given the fact that that was what they were hanging their hat on coming into this year, was you're going to be able to run the absolute crap out of the ball whenever you want. And then you kind of offset it with Brennan Sorsby. And it's kind of just been Brendan in large part. But pass blocking has been very good.
Which,
and
Keegan, I will ask you this. Are you surprised? Because they told us the entire offseason that we have spent the entire offseason working on pass blocking. So logic would
they
say,
took a dip. Transitive property,
right.
you know.
All of that breakdown you gave us, I'm still not sure what your actual grade is.
What do you mean?
Well, the question is grade the play.
Oh, the total B
Great.
minus. The offensive line is not a reason. It's not why they lost to Texas Tech, Colorado, or Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Let's just
But
say
like
that.
coming into the season, the whole talk was the continuity, the all five
Yeah.
starters returning. Like that was the main thing when it in regards to the offensive line. I feel like it's just been like in flux ever since because of injuries and because of like
Yeah,
different
that's another
rotations and
thing.
whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yes, the expectations preseason were okay. They were solid, one of the best rushing attacks in the country. They bring back everybody. Well, and then all of a sudden, Phil Wilder's starting. All of a sudden, Phil Wilder's hurt. All of a sudden, Buford's starting. All of a sudden, Buford's a guard. All of a sudden, it just Tinsley's out. This, that, and the other. So for me, I'm gonna give it the old incomplete. The old incomplete so far.
No.
All right.
Halfway through the season, what do you mean incomplete? If we're like
It's
2 games
incomplete.
in,
I am the teacher that gives incomplete.
You're
And I'll
incomplete.
give you a final grade at the end. B minus.
Give a goddamn
You're
grade.
incomplete.
It's midterms. Give a grade.
he doesn't
B
want to. He doesn't want to take away his. Oh, he did give a grade.
B minus. There we go.
All right.
You copied me.
Hey, got
Copycat
me
league.
4.0.
The optimist couldn't go below that.
I was
For-
also thinking B minus.
Yeah,
I was actually.
I think we're. Go ahead.
Let's
I was actually going
go.
to go C plus. I was going to go C plus. I think it's a little based on the way the question is answered largely, or the question's asked. Grade the play relative to your preseason expectations. My expectations were lofty, and I don't. It's not necessarily an indictment on any particular player or anything like that, but kind of the reasons that Keegan was talking about, where it's been largely Sorsby kind of overcoming what the line has done. I think that's where I'm at. I think that it can certainly improve over the course of the rest of the season, especially if you're able to steal that one in Manhattan. But just saying.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think C plus is fair.
yeah.
B
Well,
minus, C plus. Like we're within.
Pessimist
We're all
would give it
within.
C
we're
plus,
all-
the optimist would be minus.
We're all within like 4 points of each other here. So
Yeah.
I think it's right on line.
We're grading on a curve as well.
Transitive property.
And by the way, my Bearcat historian has gotten back to me on January 10th of 1997. The Bearcats played Miami of Ohio at 12 midnight in basketball.
1997.
Yeah.
Man, it was 13.
I wonder if that was like one of those ESPN like TV made for TV like season kickoff deals.
What, in January though? That's
Was
Oh,
Wally
no.
Zerbiak there?
97? Maybe.
The
Wally
Wally Z. Yeah.
Volleyball.
What is the official kickoff time for the UC West Virginia game?
Nip at noon.
Officially.
Okay. Nip at noon.
Officially. It's officially official.
Stupid.
I bet Hugs was thrilled. Oh, Hugs was loaded by midnight. Like, come on. Come on.
How many markers did he break at that
Straight.
halftime speed?
Straight to it.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And by the way,
that's the
Wally
football
was on
portion
that
of the-
team.
He was.
Nailed it.
Who won?
That's the
We did.
Okay. You got a mouse in
football
your pocket?
portion of the mailbag. Moving on to the basketball portion of the mailbag. Will Day sit out the first game?
I think the expectation is he'll play. We'll see. I mean, again, from all indications, it's not something that's serious at this point. But I do think it's something you have to like. He's got a broken foot that is healing. Like that is a lingering deal for a basketball player. You are pounding your foot into hardwood every day for hours a day. I think it's fair to look at the situation and say the expectation is this wasn't anything serious and that they don't expect him to be out for like an extended period of time. But now a reasonable person can look at this and say, I'm worried that this is something that's going to linger. And I think that's fair. Especially when you're looking at 20 conference games in 10 weeks.
And you want to see what you got in case, foul trouble to either Day or Jizzle, different things of that sort. You need someone to be that other primary ball handler when push comes to shove. So
if he's not 100%, how long are you okay with him sitting out?
Not a super extended period of time.
The whole non-con slate.
I mean, Georgia Tech,
absolutely not.
I'd circle Georgia Tech. I'm with you, Brent. I would circle Georgia Tech as the game that I'd want him back for.
I don't want that to be his first game.
No.
You Northern Kentucky
at
then?
NKU and the Twyman Invitational, which is like, what's that all about?
That gives him 2 weeks off. The Northern Kentucky is the 19th. So that'd give
the
him.
People I've talked to said that the goal is to have him on track for game one. If they sat in game one, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think there's at least a decent chance we see him to start the season, even if it's in a more limited role.
Well, more Day. If Day is out for any of the early games, do you anticipate CJ Anthony getting any first half reserve minutes, or are we more likely to just roll with Jizzle and Hickman at point guard?
Keegan,
why would you bring in
bobblehead going on?
You brought in Connor Hickman to be a combo guard to play there when you need him to. Why would you not? Especially earlier in the season.
Here's the other thing. There has been a switch on the opinion of CJ Anthony in terms of like what he is. He's been playing shooting guard for a while now, like all of last year. And like he has not been, because you've had Day and Jizzle, he hasn't really been like the backup point guard. Like, So if they see him as a shooting guard and they see Hickman as a combo guard, then Hickman. Now, I will say CJ Anthony is more than good enough to play against the bye games. More than good enough to like get minutes in the bye games. But then what you're doing is like setting your rotation where he's a part of it when you play the higher level teams. And I don't think that's going to be the case. So I don't anticipate first half reserve minutes. No, I don't think so. I think they roll with Jizzle and Hickman, go from there.
I think that's the move. Without Day, more Day questions. Is it night on the Bearcat season? Oh boy.
Killer V, your obsession with Day is unhealthy.
Who is the one? Who is the one? I like the second question much better. I think he was just trying to play the night game.
I know.
But who is the one player we absolutely cannot afford to lose without it materially impacting our season win total? My answer is Arlington Page.
The
That's an
one
interesting
player?
answer. It's a very interesting answer in terms of like what happens. Who is the Aziz is not a 30, 35 minute a game guy. So you are going to have 15, 20 minutes a night. You have to fill that Arlington Page is expected to fill now with Tyler McKinley out. That would then require you moving Dylan Mitchell to the 5 a lot more than you probably want him to move to the 5. Like, Aaron, that's a great answer. That's a great answer, sir.
Thanks.
I think the answer is Dylan Mitchell. Dylan Mitchell is the Swiss Army knife. And the reason you have a Swiss Army knife is because it does all of the things. And if you take the Swiss Army knife out, who does all of the things that Dylan Mitchell can do? So I would go Dylan. Keegan, you go CMOS.
CMOS. Who's going to make a shot down the stretch? How many games did he win last year in the last 30 seconds?
Well, Dan says he wants to be that guy this year.
Nope. If it's not CMOS, it's Jizzle.
Right. Yeah.
Just cold-blooded.
I mean, if Aaron goes with Page, wouldn't Aziz be the logical pick as well? Then I mean,
sure.
You're taking away the rim protector, rim runner.
Then you're making Aziz, or then you're making Page the starter.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, or like Mitchell's the
playing Mitchell a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the 5, it would just completely throw off everything as well. So yeah, I think that 5 position is definitely something, because I think with all the playmakers around the perimeter, you have the perfect 5 in place that doesn't need the ball to impact the game, that just does what he, the gritty plays and whatnot. So yeah, I'd
and it changes the math for sure, Brent. Like for sure. Like I think you've got a really good 5, and I think you've got a competent but like maturing backup, which is essentially how college basketball is going to be now. Like having 2 high-level 5s on your roster, there's just not usually going to be enough money for that because it doesn't make sense. So they were that's the rough part about Tyler McKinley. They were in a great spot with McKinley because he was pushing Page for those minutes. Like he was going to play and be somebody that was part of this like overall rotation. You take him out, and now if something happens to either one of those guys, it changes the conversation about this lineup.
I know that you said that Arlington Page. I know you said Arlington Page moves up to the 5. I'd be curious to see if I hope we never have to find out, because I hope to God both of these 5s stay healthy throughout the entirety of the season. But I'd be curious to see if Aziz went out, if Mitchell actually pushes for that starting 5 spot.
Yeah, I think that would be possible, because then you could go either Jizzle and Day together, or one of those 2, Jizzle and Hickman, or Day and Hickman, and then you still have Dan and CMOS, and then Mitchell at the 5. But you're small. Like you're small.
Oh yeah.
You're long and you're athletic, but you don't have any beef at that point. Could CJ transfer to a mid-major and play? Yeah. Well, no, because he's a senior and he doesn't have that ability at this point in time. But would he be good enough to do that, Matt? I think that's the question you're getting at. Yeah. Like he could play in the MAC for sure. He could play in the MAC and be a 20, 25 minute a night guy.
All right. With the season opener next Monday, what area are you least concerned about with this team, and what is your area of largest concern?
Gentlemen, have at it. I've got something, so I'll wait.
Least concerned about leadership, I guess. Veteran leadership be least concerning. And then largest area of concern, free throws. Just because I feel like that can be a concern with every college basketball team at some point in the season. So
always a concern for Cincinnati, so we're not even concerned with it
Yeah.
anymore. What do you mean?
That thing's incredible.
It's just part of the season.
It's like
Yeah.
taxes, right? Death and
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah. I'd say wings because I just think we just have so much depth
Least
and
concern.
quality. Yeah, least concern of just wings. I think God, you're so freaking versatile on the wing. Most largest for me it's the 5. The backup of the 5. You know, I think the promise and the excitement about Arlington Page is the player that he is potentially going to be when he continues putting in the work. But what we saw last year is he's, you know, gets a freaking push in the back against Dayton. All of a sudden he's, you know, injured out for a handful of games and slowly like would Page be ready that quick to be thrown into the fire? So depth at the 5.
I'm gonna go with super simple answers. Least concerned. Finally, I think we are going to be able to make layups and dunks. And that's gonna be just so nice. So nice. Instead of talking about 50% rate down underneath the rim, we're talking about, you know, 80 plus. That's gonna be just nice. Largest concern, I know there's probably plenty of people who think I'm gonna say shitty lobs, but I think they'll figure that out. But I'm just gonna say 3-point shooting in general. I'm still concerned. I haven't seen practices. I haven't seen anything since last year. But we know we want guys to have improved that shot. Day, Jizzle, Dan, to where it's not just CMOS that you're trying to screen open or you know, find ways to free him up to make that open shot. You want to be able to rely on other guys, and I'm still concerned that the 3 ball may not be where we all want it to be.
Aaron, the interesting part there is they brought in Hickman and you get a healthy CJ Frederick. How much are they going to be on the floor to change that narrative? Are they going to get enough threes and make them at a high enough percent that it changes that narrative on? Because you're right. Jizzle, Day, Dan all shot 28% from 3 on the season last year. If that is not collectively up to
you also brought in
even 32, 33%, then you're dealing with a lot of the same issues that this offense had a year ago.
Right.
Least concern for me, Keegan, you got something?
I was just going to say my largest area of concern, I'll change it to CJ Frederick's hamstring. How, if he can play a full season, fully healthy or not, just because it's been obviously such a problem for 3 straight seasons, 2 at least. So
is he John Newman or not? Like, I think that's what it comes down to.
Can you bounce back and be yourself? Yeah.
Last year, we had forgotten John Newman. We had written him off. He was not somebody that was going to be a major impact on this team. And for 3/4 of the season, I think we all would have voted him MVP.
Yeah.
For real. For me, least area of concern, rebounding. I think this is going to be an elite rebounding team. Your center can rebound. Your power forward can rebound. Your small forward can rebound. Your guards are willing to get in there and mix it up when necessary.
Day can rebound,
Yeah. I expect this to be one of the better rebounding teams in the country, offense and defense, because I think they are very good at both because of what Dan and Dylan give you rebounding out of area.
Oh, yeah.
Like, both of those guys are guys that can go get the fucking ball. And I think that is, to have 2 of them like playing opposite each other, one on one side, one on the other, rebounding should be an absolute strength of this team, offensive and defensively.
Okay.
Largest area of concern. I've been thinking about this one a lot over the past couple weeks. I have looked at a bunch of top 100 players in college basketball lists. I have not once seen a Bearcat on any of those lists. So when it's split, like it's just a matter of opinion. Okay, this guy is at like 60 on this list and might be left off of that list, and this guy pops in at like 80 on this list and might be left off of that list. The consensus is going into the season, Cincinnati does not have a top 100 player. If that is correct, you are going to be in games more often than not in this league where the other team has the best player. And as we have seen in these games that are going to be decided by 5 points or less, more often than not, the team, especially if it's the home team, if they have the best player, they have an advantage. Cincinnati's strength is, I think I saw one today where like Jizzle was at 106 and Dylan Mitchell was at 108 and Dan Skillings was at like 115. Like they're going to have, you do that whole, like if we draft the teams, Cincinnati might not have the first pick in a lot of these games against teams at the top of the Big 12. What they'll probably have is the third, fourth, and fifth pick, or like the second, fourth, and you know what I mean? So the concern is, do they have enough in those critical games? Because I think, this team is 20th in the country going into the season. They are picked 6th in the conference. To outperform expectations means you have to find a way to be a plus record against Houston, Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, Arizona.
Yeah.
It's going to be really tough to do that if those projections are right and all of those teams have the best player on the floor. I think Arizona, saw like in one of them had 3 guys in the top 100. Baylor had 2 or 3 guys in the top 100. So when we are getting to this level in the Big 12, where the conversation is not just in the tournament, the conversation is, are you one of the best teams in the country? Right now, as it stands, nobody believes that Cincinnati has a top 100 player. Do we get to the end of the season and they have 3 or 2? That's what they're going to have to prove. So for me, that is like the largest area of concern when I'm looking at the big picture. Do I think this team is very good? Yes. Do I think this team's going to win a bunch of games? Yes. Do I have confidence that this team is going to take that next step and knock off equal talent or teams that have more talent over the course of that 20-game schedule? They have to prove it because they haven't proven it yet. And the consensus is nobody believes they have a top 100 guy. So that's it's a rant that's a little bit off the beaten path here.
Right.
But I think it's legit. I think it's very real. There's nobody we're looking at that's like, that's a guy, that's a top 20 guy, that's a top 30 guy in the sport. There's not one. Unless Jizzle becomes that, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree. Last year happened so many weeks where it was like, oh, who's the leading scorer this week? Who was the leading scorer in this game? And there was like 6 straight games where a different leading scorer was on the team. It was just like, whoa, kind of crazy. So, yeah, I agree.
Keegan, what do you think of my thesis there? I've been working on that one for a little while.
Well, yeah, you just think about all of the teams last year that had a guy. Texas had Max A. Smiths. I can't remember the name of the Kansas State guy that made like 10 threes. UCF had Jalen Sellers. Houston, Jamal Shed. Baylor had the freshman Jacoby Walter. Like, you can name off all these really talented guys that were like surefire NBA guys, and UC doesn't have any surefire NBA guys right now. So I think there's multiple people on the roster that think that they have that talent and that ability if they continue to develop. But
Show us.
yes,
Go do it. Go do
there's
it.
there's a lot at stake, like for this season.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
what Dan said when I asked him about his statement saying it was going to be his last year, he said, if this team has success, everybody eats. Like it's a positive.
Right.
Like,
Which is so true. I mean,
yes,
look at like UConn the last 2 years. They all won, so they all ate. They're all getting a chance in the NBA.
Yes.
So
like if UC makes the Sweet 16 or Elite 8, that probably means Dan Skillings, Jizzle James, and Dylan Mitchell have made the case to be drafted.
Or CMOS has like
Yeah.
a second team type where he
Yeah.
averages like
He's shooting 47% from three.
Right. Go do it.
Yeah.
That ends the basketball portion of the mailbag. 2 last questions in the mailbag here in the Banks portion.
Can we ban Bengals questions from the Banks?
First two things you do as GM of the Bengals. Keegan seems excited about it. Go ahead.
Go back in time and don't pay Joe Mixon, and then you win a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay now.
Don't pay running backs, people. Don't pay running backs.
All right. So
Reese, trade for Jesse Bates. I don't know. Like it's starting to show that they have to have T. Higgins. So like
starting to show.
Yeah.
I think they won one game that T. Higgins didn't play since Joe and Jamar have been here.
Yeah.
I told you guys, if you listen Saturday night, Sunday morning, I told you, hammer the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
That Bengals team was dead in the water Sunday.
Get money fight again. I don't know. A lot of things.
I tell Zach Taylor, look, we want you to be our head coach. We think you are an excellent leader. You build culture. You have the guys on the same page and pulling in the same direction. We want you to be our head coach. If you insist on being the play caller, you're fired. That's simple. That's simple. We are going to hire an offensive coordinator, or we are going to take your offensive coordinator and give him play calling responsibilities. You can head coach. You cannot call plays at this level. The Bengals offense is boring. It's predictable. And you have too much talent to run out an offense that is
boring or predictable.
2010. Like it's 2010 NFL offense. And we're in 2024 and you've got great players and a great ability. Do something different. Go ahead, Keegan. You have your hand raised before I get to my second thing.
Has changing the play caller as like a last ditch effort as a head coach ever worked? Or is that just a precursor to getting fired?
I'm not talking about as a last ditch effort. I'm talking about as a philosophical stance of Zach Taylor as a head coach.
I think his playbook came from Madden.
Spider to wide banana.
You're wrong. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. There's nothing innovative about it. So
second point.
The second thing, you have to. The other part is I think you have to change your philosophy on running the football in this league. They've got two light backs that are better at it's third down, out of the backfield receiving, splashy type guys. Look around. The teams are using these big physical backs, Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, and you bounce around the league. Those are the guys that are having success. They don't run the ball offensively. They have no desire. They will run it because you can't throw the ball every snap. That's the only reason they run the ball. If you don't, and I think that probably goes with number one, going out and finding an offensive coordinator that wants to be balanced in his attack and his play calling. You have to change. You're going to waste Joe Burrow if you don't figure out how to better facilitate this offensive approach.
Well, first two things I would do is I'd go a step further than
It
Chad.
would
Zach Taylor,
involve firing someone.
Zach Taylor, get the fuck out. Thank you for your services, sir, but your ship has sailed. He's already lost the locker room. I don't think he has the locker room anymore. And the second thing I would do is honestly trade T. Higgins to any team but the Chiefs. Anybody who's thinking that the Chiefs are A, going to give you a good offer, or B, why would you strengthen the Chiefs? I would trade T. Higgins largely because of whatever cryptic shit his mom was doing yesterday on Twitter with the shrug emoji after the game. That was weird. And I'm not even certain he's injured. I think he was actually playing that hand because he's seeing other people in the league getting traded, and he's still wanting to get traded despite having changed his agent within the last couple of weeks. So, yeah, get rid of T. He's not going to give you anything after, the next 2 weeks or so. So get what you can and move on. But, yeah, Zach Taylor, you got to go. Last question. That was two things. What do you mean?
You just fired Zach Taylor.
And traded T.
Higgins.
Okay.
But they just need to win 7 out of the next 9 games, and then they're in the playoffs.
RELAX. Relax.
Yeah, just got to go 7-2. Relax. Everything's fine. Nothing. These are not the Bengals you're looking for.
Would you say T. Higgins' hamstring issue is comparable to CJ's?
No, T. Higgins has some kind of muscle, I don't know. It's like the 5th time between his hamstring and his quad. It's the 5th time he has missed action due to a soft tissue injury in his leg. I wonder, is it a blood flow? I don't know. So I'm not going to act like Solomon or David Fulcher, who I heard on radio yesterday, saying that, it's inexcusable that T is not taking care of his body. How do you know that, dude? You have no fucking clue whether he's taking care of his body or not. The question is, can you count on a guy that has a history of regular soft tissue issues? The answer is no. Is it comparable to CJ's? CJ's issue was he ripped his hamstring off his bone. And that's for the rest of your life going to create hamstring issues.
Mm-hmm.
The best ability is availability.
Is that why your baseball career ended, Keegs? You ripped your hamstring off the bone?
Yeah.
Gross.
Damn.
Sad to
I'm
hear.
sorry.
R.I.P. Hammy.
Yeah.
I would say I would also say that my tinfoil hat says that T. Higgins' hamstring issue is at times mental. I am not sure that it is always actually injured, but that's just me thinking that he's angling to get traded. So
okay.
The problem is it's been an issue since he got here. It's not a
wasn't
new
it
thing.
I understand it, but I'm just saying if you have an injury that is creeping up and you're also telling the team I'm not playing, and you can label it as such, why not label it as such? Because otherwise you're only tanking his trade stock.
Because the hamstring, you actually can, if you're going to do that, Aaron, the answer is back. If they can go in and MRI your hamstring and be like, oh yeah, there's a thing here and there's a thing there, and they can tell. If you're going to fake an injury, you're like, my neck, my back, and my back. Oh, I need a backiotomy. Ah.
Good job.
That's just the tinfoil hat in me.
I know. Okay. I'm just saying you can tell if there's a tear or a strain, a soft tissue issue. The medical staff will be like, you're full of shit, bro. I'm looking at the MRI and there ain't nothing.
I'm not saying that's actually what's happening, but there's a part of me that wonders. There's a part of me that will always wonder. That's the mailbag. Get us out of here, Brent.
Tissue issue. I like that. Tissue issue. That's a good back-to-back words there.
We tried Keegan for a week. We're at 2 hours and 34 minutes.
Yeah, that was a spooky episode, if you will. Favorite Halloween candy? Mine is Reese's.
Next week.
shouts outs to our good friends, Danco Transmission and Auto Care. Love you, Danco Joe. Shouts to Quick Paper Supply. They supply our timestamps and much more to all you people. And shouts to New Riffin without Royer with Brenton this week. It was
New
fantastic.
Riffin without Royer. That's how we do it when he's not here. New Riffin without Royer.
My second favorite segment of all time. For my guys, my pals, enjoy the bye week. Basketball is next on the schedule. 2 basketball games before football's back in action. So it's going to be a little bit of fun. Have a good Halloween week.
We love that basketball.
Brownball is here.
We're playing basketball.
We'll see you guys Sunday night. How about that? So
we love
my guys,
that
my pals, the crew.
Basketball.
Smith, Chad Brendel, Brian Royer, miss you. Keegan Nicholson. I am Brent Young. Yet another fantastic BBP presented by BearcatJournal.com.
See ya.
Worst ending to a podcast ever.